Hello, all you guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there in the wild, woolly world. I'm Derek, aka Kami, and you have climbed atop the lookout, where today we're doing something a little bit different. We've been playing through the South Park games in honor of their third game, Snow Day, coming out on the 26th. But today we are going to do a little bit of schoolwork, actually. My digital inclusion class has given me some of the greatest homework you could ever give someone of my generation. I have to play video games. Yeah, that's actually a thing. I have to play video games for a school class, so we're going to be playing two lovely little indie darlings. The first one is called When Rivers Were Trails, and when we're done playing through that, I will be hopping over to Steam and playing a free-to-play game, another indie darling called Dot's Home. So we're going to be playing both of those today, and let's go ahead and get started. We will definitely pick up with a South Park stream either later today or tomorrow. Depending on how I feel at the end of this schoolwork and getting my actual assignment after playing the games typed up. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and move on. Ignore the interim screen because I'm not going to change that when we're going to be getting back to South Park here sooner rather than later. Go. And let's make sure that it actually captures the game. There we go. Welcome to the chat, Softcore. Happy to have you. Yeah, we're going to be playing a couple little indie darlings today. I actually purchased Where the Water Tastes Like Wine because it was on a ridiculous sale. And apparently, the way that this game, When Rivers Were Trails, is Oregon Trail meets Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. So I'm hoping that this will inspire me to play that game as well. It's sitting in the library, but I've not played it yet. And alright, so the first we immediately get thrown into making a decision. We have to pick which clan we are. Are we the Ajajok or Crane, spiritual leaders with communication skills? The Name, I'm going to assume, I don't believe that would be name. Sturgeon, mediators with negotiation skills. The Makwa, or bear, warriors with medicinal skills. Or the Bizwi, the lynx, protectors with fighting skills. I am inclined to go with either the Ajajok or the Name. Both kind of fit who I am personally, whether we're talking about Derek or we're talking about the persona of Kami. Spiritual leader with communication skills, I think definitely fits. So I'm thinking we go that route. I will say, game audio is a little loud in my ears, so hold on, we're gonna tinker with the... There we go, tinker with my mixer a little bit. That's better. Alright. We're going with the Sturgeon. This is you. Move north, south, east, or west by clicking this or your destination. Click to continue. Your survival depends on your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. If you have no well-being, you join your ancestors. Gather, hunt, fish, and trade for foods and medicines. You will eat food often to satisfy your hunger and use medicines to be well. If it's requested, yeah, I would totally do that. One of the plans once we're out of a month that has something dedicated to it, like how we're doing South Park this month, I'm definitely I'm thinking we're gonna do like Indie Thursdays or Indie Tuesdays. I'm gonna pick a day of the week that'll be indie games. One, they're more affordable. I can purchase more of them. 2, they deserve some love, and they deserve that spotlight. So being able to play them and get, convince other people to play them from seeing gameplay, absolutely. So this war of mine, I'll put it on the list. It's definitely something I can look into. Use the pause button to take a break, return to the main menu, or exit the game. Put this knowledge into practice. Safe travels on your journey. (1890) As allotment and assimilation reach Minnesota through the Nelson Act of 1889, Native people are forced from their lands to one reservation, White Earth. Red Lake strategizes resistance to prevent the same fate of their nation. So we got Red Lake, Bois Forte, Deer Creek, Winnibogeshish, Leech Lake, Chippewa, White Earth, and Spirit Lake. And this is all taking place in Fond du Lac. You collected the Sawyer story, which you can click/tap to read. Scroll down to read interactions and stories as needed. You can always keep track of your belongings from the upper right corner by clicking and tapping the icon. Be mindful of staying balanced while living honorably. Despite your resistance to being relocated from Fond du Lac to White Earth Reservation, your land has been chosen for allotment to be taken and given to settlers. You are in a hurry to leave before settlers arrive, surely armed. I think we're going to go ahead and look inside. There is a sacred Asmima tobacco hanging in your shack. We'll gather the tobacco. You use red cloth to wrap up all of the tobacco you dried last season to take with you. Look outside. Barrel outside of our shack full of supplies. We're going to open the barrel. Our stores from the winter of dried meat, berries, and medicinal plants. We'll gather the food. We'll be nourished during our journey. We'll gather the medicine so we can heal from sickness during our journey, and we will continue. Guess we're heading west. Boso, Ibakta Ina, greetings. Are you hungry? I'm going to be respectful of the fact I actually took a ancestry test and found out what my ancestry is, and I am in no way, shape, or form Native American. I am surprisingly Spanish, but I am not Native American. So I'm going to be respectful and not even attempt any of the Native American words here. Going forward, we're just going to go ahead and go with the what is plainly written in English. Greetings. You look ready for hunting. Of course. We leave at first light. It's important for us to continue to honor traditional ways. May I join you in hunting? On one condition. Many people have been displaced on these lands, and all we've been given are tools for farming. You can hunt with us, as long as you can stand with the resistance and honor traditional ways. I think we can do that. Hunting instructions. You have 3 arrows. Make them count before the animal runs away. Click with the left mouse button where you want to target. The further the animal, the longer the shot. Take distance into account and quickly target before the animal disperses. Click the left mouse button on the tobacco to make an offering. Offering tobacco makes your next arrow fortunate, which will yield more meat from a successful hunt. I earned nothing! Okay, well that was a lackluster hunting trip. You notice a discarded newspaper as you walk along. You see an article with a map of the land that is available for allotment. The General Allotment Act has given power to federal agents to divide reservation lands and disperse them to each adult, allowing them to sell and profit from what they consider to be surplus. You walk onward, thinking about how unsafe it would be to return home. Welcome to the timber market! How may I help you? You recognize that a market is a good place to prepare for your journey. You know having plenty of food is vital for combating hunger and contributing to your well-being. Alright, so we traded some tobacco for food. Let's go ahead and ask for advice. The dangers of going out in the woods are great. Besides the Indian agents, there are animals and places that are flooded. Safe travels, friend. And I continue on my way. Still going west. I suppose you didn't expect to see an Oneida out this way. I'm headed west from the reservation in Green Bay. We've been told our allotted lands have been moved once again. How far are you traveling? We are headed to California. We've heard through the church that there are opportunities for employment, and that there's a good school for children. I understand. Here in Sawyer and Fond du Lac are being located to White Earth. Thankfully, that is close. We're originally from New York, but they promised us land in Green Bay. Now that we're flourishing, we have to again make way for settlers. Consider joining us in San Francisco if you make it that far. Safe travels. And we continue on our way. We keep going west. From the bank, you see dark shapes drifting and darting, here and there. Beneath the surface of the waters, you remember how hungry you are. Minding the emptiness of your stomach, you consider that this might be a great fishing spot. Let's look. After closer inspection, you see that the shapes of that are that of lake trout. They're good eating and plentiful in these parts. You notice that some of the smaller trout are coming up to a shallow pool near some shaded rocks to eat water bugs. If you unravel your net and position yourself right, you can easily fish with the shade covering your shadow. Let's learn how to fish! Catch fish with your spear. You only get one try. Fishing is about being patient and looking for the best catch. Alright, we got 3 food out of that. I'll take that. That's a reasonable win. Do we go west or do we go south? Feel a drizzle of rain. Gonna go ahead and continue. Oh no! I carry on, but I become unwell from a cold. An elder is cautiously looking beyond her wigwam to see who is approaching. You are raised understanding that it is important to always be respectful of your elders. Greetings, grandmother. I am on my way to White Earth, whether I want to or not, it seems. I'll offer her some tobacco in exchange for a place to rest, and we'll listen to her. She tells us a story about how the jingle dress came. In 1890, jingle dresses were ceremonial regalia made of calico fabric and bugle. Of calico fabric and bugle-shaped jingles, usually made from the tops of tobacco cans. Indian agents monitored ceremonies, so people had to find ways to hide ceremonial regalia. We head on our way feeling grateful. And we continue south. See a long path before us. Start walking towards another place. In 1890, sovereign native nations in Minnesota have entered legal agreements with the United States. These treaties cede land in hopes of protecting traditional ways of life, but this leads to more land loss as railroads open up access to settlers. This is especially the case around Minneapolis, which is south of the Mille Lacs Reservation. An Anishinaabe woman is headed in the direction of Leech Lake to the north. We had gotten some extra food from fishing, so we'll go ahead and gift her some food. Actually, I must refuse. A French trader has asked my father for my hand in marriage, and they are negotiating right now. The Frenchman needs to pay the correct price to my father, so until I know whether or not I am to be married, I cannot accept any gifts. I appreciate the offer, though. And we continue on our way. Shall we go east and check on the tribe at the Mille Lacs, or do we continue south? You arrive at the Mille Lacs Reservation to visit the elder Wakosh, who is tended to by his wife Nishkadizi. Both are welcoming, but Nishkadizi has her eyes on the ground. My older brother was one of our people who became sick and died when the white people arrived. He was about your age. You're welcome to his belongings. They will keep you warm. Nishkadizi is the elder's wife. They have a few children. Nishkadizi's mother is Mashiki. They were well known in the community for their choke cherry jam, which Nishkadizi learned how to make from Mashiki when she was young. You thank Nishkadizi for her kindness. We shall continue east. You seek out refuge at a long-standing Anishinaabe. I'm gonna butcher this, and I apologize to any of my Native American watchers. Anishinaabe fishing village near Mille Lacs Lake. Your cousin Bimimbisa, who is Wolf Clan, welcomes you. Cousins. Yeah, we're just going to jump over words, and I apologize for that. Before it came to Mille Lacs Lake, the Dakota people lived there and considered it a very sacred place. They called it Midewakan Spirit Lake, and the Dakota fought over the land, but eventually came to council. Most of the Dakota moved south and west, but those who left Mille Lacs taught the songs and ceremonies needed to properly honor Midewakan before they left. Some of the Dakota even stayed behind and became... Those that stayed were named Mayanang or Wolf Clan and continued to share their knowledge with the Mille Lacs band. Proved to be the nexus between Dakota and culture. The band's ceremonial drums have Dakota origins, but its songs are even Dakota tunes. Interesting. Let's talk to my cousin. Greetings, friend. Good to see you here. What brings you down this way? Allotment has reached Fond du Lac. The land I tended to has been taken. I'm sorry that you've been displaced. You can stay, at least long enough to fish or hunt. We have everything you need here. Will you be staying here with the Mille Lacs band? No. I'll be moving to join my brother Aebe in South Dakota. You would be welcome to join us there. Let's go for hunting, because we didn't do too well last time, so I want to at least take a shot. Oh. Well, we got a deer, so at least there's that. Which gets us 4. That's not bad. Yeah, so we're full up on food. Biggest thing we gotta worry about is getting some extra medicine. You see a big bear roaming around the path that you need to cross. Do we tread lightly, or do we run? Oh, bother. I do like a good hunt. We're gonna tread lightly. We tread lightly to avoid startling it and find a longer but safer path forward. An elder is looking to trade baskets or foods in exchange for medicines. She explains that she can no longer legally gather traditional plants after allotment. We're already full up on food, and we're running. We're not running low, but we definitely have less medicine than I would like. But I also was taught to respect my elders. We have to care for one another. You see a youth you recognize from trading gatherings between your community and Leech Lake, but there's something different about him. His hair is cut short, a sign that he has lost a family member close to him. He remembers you and is eager to talk to you. We'll listen. Do you know the story of Minagon? Was the first animal, a wolf, and he walked alongside Gichi Manadu. And he walked alongside as Gichi Manadu made our world for us, the water, the trees, the wild rice, and all the animals. Gichi Manadu made people last, but loved people so much that Minagon was asked to help. Finally, Minagon came to and said, I have a gift for you, but you must promise me something in return. Said, I? Said, you must take care of all of the animals on this planet, for they are your relations. You must take good care of them as if they were your relatives, because they are. Agreed that they would take care of all of the animals. So he opened his mouth and a dog came out. His gift to them. I apologize, Chet. My grandfather taught me that story. He is no longer with us. Where are you headed? I visited the city to see the bicycles my cousins were talking about, but I'm headed back to Leech Lake. And you? I am intended to go to White Earth, but since my traditional territory has been taken and divided, I have no true home. I want to gift him, but we don't have the medicine to do it. Alright. Do we head west toward Wahpeton, or do we head north? Go west toward Wahpeton. We hear a duck. We shall hunt for the duck. And we didn't get any of the ducks. Did I ever mention I was terrible at duck hunt? As you walk along, you hear noises and see some bushes rustling near you. Do we look, do we run, or do we sneak? I'm inclined to sneak. I'm not normally a sneaky one, but I would say in this case, because it could be anything, I don't want to just look, but I don't see a reason to run. Quietly make our way around the bushes. For nothing. We quietly made our way around the bushes for nothing. We see a turtle moving slowly. We're gonna look at the turtle. As we watch, we remember our auntie telling us about how the Great Lakes are the heart of the turtle of all that tribe are carried on. When a flood came to Aki, the trickster Nanabuzu saved himself and a few animals by floating on a log. He and many of the animals tried unsuccessfully to dive down and grab dirt to recreate the land. Eventually, despite being teased, Muskrat succeeded, giving up his life in the process. This land was put on the back of a turtle and grew into the island that became known as the Americas. And we're going to head north, and we're at Wapatan. You're busy looking at rabbit droppings and consider hunting when Ajidomu, Ayebe and Wabashiko's son interrupts you by running up. Hey, would you like to go fishing with me? Considering I've had better luck with fishing than, well, actually I've had technically better luck with hunting because I got more out of that one deer, but I was successful on the one time that I've gone fishing. Oh, he has an interesting story to tell me about the spirit of the drum. One day, Mindimu was cooking in her house at her stove. No one was with her. No one was home with her. She turned around and saw a little boy sitting at her table. She asked him his name. He didn't answer. She asked him where he came from. He didn't answer. She asked him if he was hungry. He didn't answer. Even so, she made him a plate with some of everything she was cooking. Fish, venison, fry bread, wild rice, and hominy. He began to eat. When Mindemu turned back around to give him a cup of tea with honey, the plate was clean, and the little boy was gone. She heard a splash from outside. She went to the door and looked. Her house was by a river. She knew then that the little boy was the spirit of the drum, the life which sits within drums, and he had gone back into the river. So every time you find a little boy at your table, don't question him. Just make a plate for him. Ah, we didn't. I should have fished. I should have fished. It's okay. We're still doing decent on food. You respectfully address Wabashiko, Ayebe's wife, by speaking to her, but not making direct eye contact. Just as you were taught as a youth. We're gonna gift her some food because we got plenty. Thanks. Here, I could prepare some for you. We're gonna listen to a story. A word of advice for your adventure. As you move along, keep your eyes open for the medicine swamp tea and asima. Sacred asima, or tobacco, is offered when asking for guidance, receiving teachings, gathering plants, and taking the life of an animal to honor and give thanks. Asima is gifted to people as help in moments of need and reinforces relationships with all of creation. We give a silent farewell and continue on our journey. While traveling from Wapatan, you cross paths with an, I'm again not going to butcher that, family who you are not familiar with. They're friendly nonetheless, recognizing that kindness is vital in such trying times. Greetings, friend. You are... Yes? Why don't you rest and eat with us? Thanks. I have blueberries to share with you. Thanks. I have something for you too. And he got some medicine out of it. Good. Good, good, good. Let's ask for advice. What advice would you give me? Should I continue west or return to Millilock's Lake? We're going to read about intertribal real quick. Ayebe and his wife live in the woods near Wapatan. They have one young son. They are an intertribal family who often travels from the wife's relatives in southern Minnesota to her grandmother's family on the Lake Traverse Reservation. In 1890, communities ranging from Wapatan, I can speak, to Lake Traverse were suffering from hunger because crops were failing shortly after reservation lands were allotted in 1889. There are many who are going to the Dakotas to support the nations there. If you go that way, you should have this manuman, wild rice, for the long journey. We nod in thanks and continue on our way. Looks like we're going north. We are still pretty light on medicine, so I think we're going to just tough this one out. It did cost us 2 well-being, but that's okay. Because we've been able to replenish our well-being. We find a train heading north, we're going to ride the train. I think we're going to ride on the flatbeds on this one, but it is a choice, so we'll let chat make a decision here. Are we riding the flatbed or are we riding the roof? I'll say roof just seems a little too risky. I see that I do have two viewers rather, so we got Softcore's vote for flatbed. If my other viewer would like to make their voice heard, feel free to vote in the chat there, flatbed or roof. Alright, we're gonna go with flatbed. We take a bumpy ride on the flatbed. It took us back up north, and I guess we're heading east to White Earth. Appreciate you, Softcore. If you want to drop lurk, that's you can always do that. You come across a small home and are welcomed inside almost immediately by your auntie. She has hot water on for tea, and many leaves to choose from, including wintergreen, raspberry, spruce, and snowberry, all of which have unique medicinal uses. We gotta gift our auntie. Your auntie is humbled by your offer of wild rice and slips medicinal bear root into your belongings when you're not looking. You thank her for her hospitality before leaving. We're gonna need to stop and hunt on the next chance we get. We head north, and while in White Earth, we're approached by an unfamiliar young woman and child. The woman stops us. I brought these vegetables from my garden in Red Lake. We heard what's happening over here with your land. The sisters gift you with the vegetables. Great, thanks. I know your people are hurting due to the government wanting more of our lands. Please visit us at our home in Red Lake if you want to work together to save our land. We'll ask about the family. Thanks. Where's the rest of your family? I'm taking care of my sister while our parents are back in Red Lake protecting our land. We're preparing for the government to come to our land and force us into allotment. We do not wish to give up our land. Minnesota were told only the Red Lake and White Earth reservations would be retained, while the rest would be put up for public sale, and that they would be relocated to White Earth Reservation. Although Red Lake Band held the land around the lake, many more and Dakota were displaced to Millie Locks and White Earth reservations. Consider helping their cause, knowing that you must first prepare yourself. See you when I see you. We continue north. You approach a home near a garden where squash, corn, and beans are growing heartily. Wabigawan greets you. Greetings, friend. It's good to see you. We were talking about what is happening in White Earth and worry the same fate will come to us here in Red Lake. Please come in. The United States broke treaty promises on July 8, 1889. Before then, the Red Lake Reservation encompassed 3,260,000 acres, but the Red Lake Band was forced to cede 2,905,000 acres as surplus after the allotment of households registered on the Dawes rolls took place. The reservation was left with little more than 300,000 acres of land in Lower Red Lake and most of Upper Red Lake. accept the offer and join the young woman. Her home is small but welcoming. It's been a long journey. My people are hurting and hungry. We said we're hurting and hungry. I don't remember what our current... We have more medicine than we do food, so... See you when I see you. The young man approaches you swiftly, looking determined. Our people are organizing to resist allotment. Our land must be held in common. We need you to help us. Even though resisting will put your well-being at risk, you're dedicated to the cause. I'm willing to stay and help you with your efforts to fight against allotment. Thanks, friend. The situation here is becoming increasingly dangerous. Our people are organizing to make sure the government knows we will fight to keep our lands. We need all of the help we can get. The Red Lake Band successfully resisted government attempts to allot land to individual households under the Dawes Act of 1889. The act was intended to aid assimilation by dividing tribal land into small plots of land for farming and private ownership. By resisting, Red Lake Reservation remained under tribal control and was not checkerboarded into individual plots. We're gonna give up our well-being. We're resisting. You stand side by side from all across Red Lake. The days and nights of negotiations over allotments were long, but your presence contributes to putting pressure on the government to agree. The Red Lake community maintains sovereignty. Going north, you overhear a conversation nearby. It's not that I don't like you being a two-spirit, my younger sibling. It's just the white people don't like two-spirits, and I don't want you to get hurt because of that. That one's a little rough. I myself am not part of the non-binary community, the trans community, but my sibling-in-law is, and I have friends that are, so that one hits a little bit closer to home. Let's go ahead and ask him about the argument. What's happening here? My sister is placing herself and our family in danger because she has fallen for the representative's daughter. She has no idea what this... He doesn't want me to be happy. Follow your heart, but be prepared to experience difficulties, just as you have seen your family and your people suffer to protect their lands. The brother considers your thoughts. In my heart, I know you are right. Thank you for your guidance. He offers you sweetgrass, which is cleansing when burned. We nod and continue on our way. We're heading west. The resistance at Red Lake has done well thanks to community members banding together to take plots of land side by side, as well as holding off attempts to settle their territory. The sisters are joined by their family. You approach Wabaginwa to ask about the celebration. Are you preparing a feast to celebrate? Due to unrest among the Red Lake Band, the United States set aside forest lands to return to the reservation. However, the promise turned out to be a ruse to diminish resistance, and by 1904, U.S. officials instead forced the Red Lake Band to cede even more land. We are holding a dance, but be mindful. After the agreement was signed, the government did not stop trying to take our land. The struggle is far from over. Again, we'll trade the bear route in turn for some medicine. And now we head north. Most of it doesn't interest me, so we're not going to trade. You are walking along a high trail near a river. It's raining heavily. Over the sound of the rain, you make out a strange mewling that sounds like a little like a baby. Looking around for the source of the sound, you see a large fox and some small foxes looking over the edge of the cliff and yipping at whatever is crying. We're gonna watch. Oh, I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk. I should have approached. We're gonna go ahead and go south. Oh no, we accidentally stepped on a wasp. And it stung us. Of course it did. Water near you is already high when a sudden storm causes a flash flood. We're taking the high ground. We escaped the flood, but we got soaked from the rain, which does damage to our medicines and leaves us feeling cold. Oof. We're going west. We're gonna gather the wild rose. Get some medicine back, which is good. Wild roses are high in vitamin C and can prevent and treat colds and flu. They can be eaten fresh for maximum vitamin C, and the rose hips and seeds can be dried for medicines. Fun fact, if any of you have not had rose hip tea, it's actually really delicious. Gotta balance it with some sweetness like a honey or whatnot, but it's actually pretty delicious. We find a train heading west. While trying to catch a few winks of sleep on the roof of the train, the steam whistle jolts us awake. We're gonna sleep. And we manage to get some rest. Leading up to the poor conditions in North Dakota and eastern Montana on reservations, Congress passed the General Allotment Act of 1887. The act divides tribally owned reservations into parcels of land under individual ownership, and then often results in ownership transferring from natives to settlers. Fort Peck is under increasing pressure to allot its land, but is not yet opened up to homesteaders. You are near the border to Canada, which you hear has been used as a strategy to escape United States forces, when a woman who is Turtle Mountain Chippewa waves you over. Bozo! I am Bear Clan. What is your clan? If we remember, our clan was Sturgeon. I am Sturgeon Clan. I've just received a letter from the senator. Well, it was meant for my brother who passed on. But the senator is looking for representatives to sign a new treaty. What an opportunity! The Turtle Mountain Chippewa are in the midst of a substantial negotiation with the federal government, again seeking to reduce the size of their land. A committee is being formed by a nearby Indian agent to try and form a new reservation with more permanent terms, but few find the possible concessions palatable. Let's go ahead and ask her about the opportunity. Tell me what makes this an opportunity. Oh, I will be assured land if I join the negotiation committee. These are very exciting days. I normally wouldn't leave something like this to fate, but I think we're going to go ahead and do a coin flip because I'm not sure. There's a part of me that says we discourage because can't trust the government acting in good faith, especially in this scenario. But a part of me says to encourage because, well, It is assured land. Whether it's land that she wants is going to be the problem. Chat, if you would like to give your opinion on how we should proceed, go right ahead. I do see that I got 2 of you in here, so I know Softcore is currently on lurk mode. He's meditating on the task at hand, but whoever my other viewer is, if you would like to make your suggestion, go right ahead. Otherwise, I'm saying heads encourage, tails discourage. Well, it landed on heads, so I guess we're going with encourage. I hope the negotiation goes well for you and your people. And we continue on our way. See a gathering of native people. They're talking amongst themselves about allotment. I hear they're going to break us up. The agent told me another tribe might get our land. That was their plan all along. We're gonna give up a little bit of food. You offer them food in case they are split up on a long walk to new land. They thank you for your generosity and assure you that you will be remembered. You continue on your journey. And continue south again. Stranger near the water easily catches up to you asking for medicine. I am a good man. I will give him some medicine. Indian agent riding a horse quickly catches up to you. He circles around you on horseback and hits you with the hilt of his gun before instructing you that you better report to the fort. The land all around you looks to be recently left in a hurry. Few people remain. As the rest have been forced to travel regardless of when allotments reach their land. Have you come looking for someone? Many leave this land these days. We move along the river to Elbow Bend, although I think my grandfather followed on and goes to Fort Peck. In 1884, the Indian agent broke land 20 miles upstream from Like a Fishhook village and had the earth lodges and cabins burned to persuade the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara to relocate and take up farming, which echoes through the lands into tensions in 1890 when Fort Berthold unintentionally burns down and families are forced upstream to Elbow Woods. I would like to hear why your grandfather travels to Fort Peck. Grandfather felt the pull to move further along the river. He said he may find better game in trading for us at Fort Peck. Perhaps you will have similar luck. You thank her and continue on your way. Small bear, you move too heavy and scare away the rabbits. Lighter steps when walking the high grass. I'll ask about hunting. Oh, have I gotten in the way of your hunting? My apologies for sounding harsh. The government pushes us west with force, and with it, the hunt. Allotment hurts us all. I could use help with hunting. Let's hunt. We're gonna hold out and see if we can get any deer, because okay, I did not know that we only had the option of rabbit there, or else I would have, thrown my, shot my arrows quicker. While walking along the water, mosquitoes buzz around your ears. With the power of modern knowledge, we know not to smack those, so we're gonna go ahead and run. You quicken your pace and get away from as many mosquitoes as possible. It did take a little bit of our well-being, but that is okay. A woman appears to be very concerned and is looking around frantically when you approach. What do you want? I mean no harm. What troubles you so? Apologies, my words were harsh. I look for my Masigi, and I will not trust a face not known to me. I've come to look for him here. In 1889, Wolf Chief Hidatasa and Son of the Star, Sanishi Chief, requested the Commissioner of Indian Affairs in Washington, D.C. to grant Fort Berthold a school in the hopes of keeping families close by. A boarding school and a day school were authorized, but by 1890, this leads to the separation of many families due to the way boarding schools are managed. Rations, dry goods, and food are withheld by the Indian agent from families who do not send their children to school. I heard strange men laughing. They spoke as if they knew something. I think they've taken him in the direction of Fort Peck, but I must stay close in case he is found. I'll be heading in that direction. If your son is there, I will be sure to help. Your kindness is comfort. Thank you. You continue on, feeling solemn. Ooh, we're gonna trade some medicine for food. And west to Fort Peck. You're close to the river and walking quietly as possible when someone calls out to you. I see you there. Come to find the little ones as well, have you? Look no further. See here at the river's edge. There are many small footprints, all in a row, and deep set, as if waiting while facing the water. More than one child was taken, it seems. Having served as an Indian agency from 1873 to 1878, Fort Peck was erected as a trading post for Durfee and Peck in 1867. Children were removed, families displaced, and assumptions made by colonizers about how the people there should live, which in turn led to many losses. What happened here? The Indian agent decided children should be taken to the boarding school to forget our language and ways. You continue on your way. This may be a fine place to fish, except for the old man in the way who is holding his ground. If you've come to fish, I've fished them all up. If you've come to gripe about the fish, I wasn't fishing at all. I haven't come to fish. So you say. Have you met my granddaughter? She says the same every time she comes around worrying about me, the nervous girl. Well, I am fine, and the fish have been good to come to me. I'll ask about the conditions. Does she have a reason to worry about you? I'm doing just fine. Of course, I kept my teepee instead of taking a cabin. They can't make me live in those sickness shacks. In 1889, there were 480 log cabins on the Fort Peck Reservation. As Indian agent C.R.A. Scobie wrote, the Indians are making some progress toward a civilized state, most noticeable in their abandoning their teepees for houses. Although assimilation presumed that cabins were more civilized dwellings, these small and poorly ventilated spaces were partially responsible for the high incidences of influenza and respiratory disease. You continue on your way. You come across a snare that has caught a muskrat by the tail. It struggles to break free. We'll take it. We'll head to the south. Nearby, a man coughs and covers up his strain when you get close. He recognizes that you are not from his nation. Why have you come here? I am displaced from my territory. The allotments pushed me west. Many are being pushed west. Here, we have so little. Ah, I see it is too hard to hide my circumstances. I am unwell. It's best you keep your distance. I am too kind-hearted for my own good, but you offer him medicines to help with his cough. Your kindness will be remembered. And we continue on our way. We're gonna head to the east. Yellow dandelions are blooming in clusters near the water. We're going to gather them. Which gets us medicine back. Yes! Dandelions restore energy and vitality after the hardships of winter. They are a blood purifier full of vitamins and minerals. Young leaves and flowers are eaten fresh. Older leaves are cooked to reduce bitterness. Roots can be made into a caffeine-free tea that is similar to coffee. The leaves and flowers are boiled together and applied as a poultice that reduces arthritis. And I guess we have to continue east. You have the opportunity to exercise your treaty rights by setting a trap. We are real low on food. But we'll set a trap. We carefully set a trap and then wait in hiding. Our patience pays off when we caught a small animal. As you sit by your fire and watch the wind blow through the grass, making gentle waves, your attention is drawn to a sudden burst of motion. We'll look. You put more wood on the fire to make sense of what the commotion is all about. You see a ferret slipping about and running back and forth like it has gone mad. It throws itself into the air over and over, landing on its back like it's in some bizarre death throes. We'll intervene. You think to see if... I didn't even get to finish reading that, but okay. And I guess we'll continue heading... And we're gonna fish, because we need food. Wish we could have gotten more. I could have probably been more patient, but I didn't want to take the risk of not getting anything. We go to the east. An Indian agent recognizes that you are not from around this area and approaches you aggressively. We resisted last time and got mollywopped for it. We're gonna run. We get away safely. We approach the water's edge. The water is calm, and we will take our canoe. We're canoeing! Canoe your way through the water. If we crash, we lose well-being. Left to move left, right to move right. Okay, we made it. Crow territory had been defined in the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851, but by 1868, the Crow were forced to sell nearly 300... added an extra zero there, folks. Sell nearly 30 million acres, thereby shrinking their territory significantly. During the Great Sioux War of 1876, the Crow fought alongside the United States government in hopes of keeping their territory out of Sioux, Oceti-Sakowin hands. Despite this, the federal government continued to seize Crow lands, allotting them to individual ownership. During the spring of 1890, a handful of settlers had begun pressuring the Crow to allow sheep grazing on the reservation in exchange for cattle and flour. Tribal representatives, including Chief Plentycoops, are against sheep grazing because it causes crop damage. Non-native sheep ranchers also did not reimburse the tribe for damage, nor did they hire natives to help in herding. In November, a United States government agent denied grazing releases to sheep ranchers in favor of Crow leadership. Thank you for the catch there, Softcore. Tired and defeated, many natives took jobs with the U.S. government to survive the Office of Indian Affairs. With the U.S. government to survive. There is a period there. The Office of Indian Affairs gave native people jobs with busy work. One of the most prestigious yet alienating jobs was as an police officer in Agent McLaughlin's Indian Police. Do we gripe, run, or lie? I ain't one for lying. We're gonna gripe. Who are you to ask? I'm a policeman in the Office of Indian Affairs. Your command of English will interest the Indian agent. Fine, we'll cooperate. You yell so loud that the officer is surprised, but the real surprise comes when an arrow flies by. Following the path of the arrow reveals an archer, Ghost Dancer. The Ghost Dancers beckon you to escape with them, and I'm going to. After we get away, they have invited me to Cherry Creek, so we're gonna head south. We unexpectedly come across Tatanka Iyotake, joined by Kangisi, who translates for him. You've heard many stories about his adventures off-reservation as a performer in Buffalo Bill Cody's Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. We listen. Hello, welcome to my community. Sitting Bull. Even though Tatanka Iyotake was known to perform in Buffalo Bill Cody's Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, and encourage being agreeable during assimilation in the hopes of protecting future generations, he is later unfortunately killed by Indian police at the Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota on December 15, 1890. Why have you come? I've been run off my land. If you're looking to resist, go somewhere else. We're gonna ask for guidance. Where should I go then? Go to Cherry Creek. They are ghost dancing over there. We continue on our way, heeding his words. So we're going to continue south, and we are running dangerously low on food and medicine. We're recovering from our long travels when a Lakota warrior calls out to us. I'm from far east at Fond du Lac in Minnesota. Our people called yours the Hahathunwan. You were our great enemies once, but none of that matters now. You look able-bodied. What do you say to helping us load these wagons in exchange for a bit of our rations? You won't be able to withdraw your own without an agency ration card. You state that you need to continue on your way. I will see you again in this life or the next. All right. We've got a decision to make, chat. Are we going west or are we going south? It looks like both lead us to Cherry Creek. Alright, we'll go west. Cheyenne River is bustling with resilient and resourceful Lakota. Nearby, a woman is making a hand drum. Strong-hearted woman. Are you here to photograph me today? I must decline. I don't believe I have a camera. I am not. And we shall ask about their community. Who are you people? And apparently we nod and continue. We didn't even get an answer! We're just gonna nod and continue on our way. Wherever you go, a tension hangs over the land. The tension turns to focus as a woman from Hunkpapa Lakota Ospey notices you. Let us ask about the buffalo. Where are the buffalo I have heard so many stories about? The Pichaka Oyote have become bone. The Wasakun killed them by the millions. The ghost dance will revive them. As flesh once more, they will cleanse Unkimaka of the Wasakun and return the old ways. The ghost dancers believed they were summoning the buffalo back from extinction to cleanse the continent of the colonizers and bring back their traditional way of life. We'll ask about the people. Is there no hope for the ones who have turned to their ways? They have cast their lot and must live with it. You have to be going, so you nod and continue. The wild red strawberries along the water look deliciously ripe. We're gonna gather them because we are low on food. You gather up the strawberries while remembering a teaching from your auntie about how they are called heartberries. Also known as the heartberry, strawberries are high in flavonoids and phytonutrients, which contribute to heart health. They are a natural mood elevator and an excellent source of vitamin C. A strikingly tall man regards you warmly. Welcome to Cherry Creek. Our gracious host Spotted Elk has loaned me his teepee while I stay here. I am instructing his people in the ways of the ghost dance. We shall listen. I am of the Paiute from a place called Smith's Valley in Nevada, far to the south. I'm going to correct myself here because that's where I'm from. It's Nevada. Spotted Elk's people and many others find hope in my vision of the return of our ancestors and their way of life. What can you tell me about the ghost dance? In 1890, the Paiute prophet Wovoka founded a religious resistance called Nanisanahana, or Ghost Dance. I probably butchered that. Or Ghost Dance. Christian teachings and Paiute traditions joined together with the hope that the movement would lead to the restoration of bison and the return of ancestors' ghosts to Earth. The ghost dance spread rapidly through the West as tribes adopted Wovoka's vision of an end to settler expansion and an embrace of restorative living. The dance itself is an intense physical and spiritual resistance, compounded by the fact that the American army view it as a threat, which leads to the massacre at Wounded Knee. In the ceremony, you dance for 5 days to honor the ancestors. If we continue to honor them, they will return to us and return this land to the way it was. We shall dance. I would like to join in the ghost dance. You attempt to dance, but after a few days. Okay, well, that's disheartening. We approach the water's edge. The water is rushing quickly. We canoeing! Oh, it's a smiley face. Another smiley face. We made it! The United States government, following the discovery of gold in the Black Hills, has broken the Fort Laramie Treaties of 1851 and 1868. Despite victory over General Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn, the Battle of Greasy Grass, the Agreement of 1877 officially created the Great Sioux Reservation. In 1890, continued pressure from the government, settlers, and corporate interests resulted in further divisions of Sioux lands, including cessions of the Black Hills. One tenant of Fort Laramie treaties of 1851 and 1868, safe passage for settlers and allowing for roads and forts to be built along the Oregon Trail, has been largely upheld by local tribes and fosters plenty of trading opportunities. You are looking for plant medicines low to the ground. When you come near an Oglala Lakota man crouched by wilted sunflowers, he seems approachable. Well, we've got one more food than we do medicine. Let's ask about hunting. Is this all you have to eat out this way? Would you like to hunt with company? That's a fair trade. I could use any help I can get. Damn, I missed the rabbit. But I did get a deer, so at least we got 4 food there. East or south, chat? East or south? Alright, we're going south. Again, I apologize, chat. But we see bushes green with raspberry leaves, but without berries. We shall still gather. We will gather the raspberry leaves, which gives us medicine. High in iron, raspberry leaf tea strengthens and tones muscles, easing child labor, increasing lactation, and can help reduce cramping during menstruation. Stimulates fertility as it balances hormones, and is also good for the skin. An owl screeches in the distance, a warning you remember your auntie telling you stories about. Owls guide the spirits of the dying and the dead to the next place. It is said that hearing the screech of an owl is a warning that death is coming. Well, we just got some medicine. Let's go ahead and gift it some medicine. You gift the owl an Asima and then hear an eerie call that makes you feel chilled down to your very bones. We continue onward, feeling disturbed. You enter a blacksmith shop. It is being worked by a Lakota man. He wears a sheriff's badge, oddly enough, and keeps a Colt revolver on his right. He seems strangely familiar. Man with a Colt on his hip, I don't think I'm gonna joke. The Lakota man notices you looking at him just as you realize that he seems familiar because you've heard stories about him. Paul Eaglestar. Maybe you've seen me in the newspapers? They say I'll be the breakout star of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Bill tells me we're going to London next year. Paul Eaglestar grew up on the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota and attended the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania. In 1889, Eaglestar returned to the Rosebud Agency and began working in a blacksmith shop before traveling as a performer with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. We shall continue. And we will go south. General store is in poor supply. They're only trading food in exchange for medicines or beadwork that they can mark up in price. We are low on medicine and high on food. So we're going to just decline. As you're walking along a foliage-covered path, you overhear a few men talking about land allotments. Interested in hearing what they have to say, you quietly follow the voices to learn that government agents have been sent to survey a nearby reservation. Oh, chat, I'm gonna need some input here, because I'm not gonna lie. In my heart of hearts, a part of me says to help, but we're only at 3 well-being, and it would take 2 of those 3. Do not help them. We will continue on our way, deciding not to get involved. Do we go west or do we go south? How the west was won. Hey, we found a good place to fish. And fish we shall. We'll wait for some of the bigger boys. That's a bigger boy. Not as big as it could have been, but, I mean, still gives us 2 more food. Which puts us almost at max food, so that's good. You've been traveling for most of the day. The hot sun is overheating you, and your weary legs need a rest. You see an old stump that has a bushy young tree growing out of the side of it. I know what I would do, and I'm gonna go ahead and sit. You sit down on the stump to catch your breath. Deciding it's too hot to wear your jacket, you take it off and lay it on the branches of the young tree. As soon as you release the jacket from the tree, you hear what sounds like rattling beneath the coat. Oh, I'm gonna regret this. You freeze and peer around the jacket. There is some motion beneath it. It sounds like you dropped your coat on a rattlesnake. We'll leave the coat. Better safe than sorry, you think. You back away until you're sure you're far enough from what you figure must be a rattlesnake. A few moments later, you can see the dark flash of something dropping from beneath the coat and rushing off into the high grass. You wait a bit before you retrieve your coat and leave. Hey, I still got to keep my coat! You see a weary and half-starved looking young man near the decrepit Fort Laramie. Take some food, bud. If you need help, I have food. I'd give you the shirt off my back for a good meal. Thank you so much. You nod goodbye to the young man and continue on your journey. And see, we got some well-being for it, so good. Alright, another decision. Do we continue west toward the Laramie Mountains, or do we go north? The trader is trying to get your attention when he spots you and calls out, offering to trade food for medicine. I mean, I need more medicine, so yes, I'm okay with that. You aren't fond of trading with him, but you could use the medicines. Darn toot not good. The sky darkens and a heavy rain begins to pour down. The rain quickly becomes overwhelming, and you start looking for shelter. While searching the rocks for a suitable shelter, you hear the bleating cries of an animal in distress. You then spot a bighorn sheep who has a leg stuck between some rocks. You shall look. The storm begins to rage and thunder resounds across the sky. The sheep, frightened, begins struggling vigorously. You think you could free it, but it could be dangerous. Dangerous or not, our people made a pact with the god to care for the animals of the land. You approach the sheep cautiously, trying to assure it that you mean no harm. It calms enough to let you close. The rocks are wet and slippery. With the help of a nearby branch, you're able to pry up the rocks, and the sheep snatches its leg out of the crevice. The sheep lets out loud bleats and ascends the rocks, disappearing into a thin cave mouth you could have never seen yourself. You have found shelter for the rest of the storm. You need to dry off after crossing the water. You shall rest. Lay down and wait until you and your clothes are dry enough to continue. You feel tired as you reach the water. I'm going to rest again just because I don't think we have the well-being to risk it. You sit down for a moment and close your eyes. You soon sense something approach the water. You look. You stay where you are and open your eyes. You see before you a beautiful white buffalo. You continue on your journey, feeling hopeful. Beautiful white buffalo was my nickname in college. You see a beehive up on a tree. Do we knock it down, or do we continue? Knocking it down, we could get stung, but we also could get delicious honey. This is definitely a tough call, chat. Do we knock it down and potentially get delicious honey, or do we continue? Leave the bees alone, but they could have delicious honey. Fine, we'll leave the bees alone. You decide to leave the bees alone. The beehive alone. Good idea. Alright, we'll head to the east, because it's our only option. While in the Black Hills of South Dakota, you come across a group of people who have gathered for the Ghost Dance, a ceremony formed by the Paiute prophet Wovoka, which you understand to be an act of resistance. The Black Hills had long been considered the sacred center of the world by the Lakota, and as such were fiercely defended during the Treaty of Fort Laramie negotiations in 1868. That treaty forever awarded the Black Hills to the Lakota, and was torn up when settlers discovered gold in the area. The unlawful dissolution of that treaty led to generations of resistance. One of the most prominent forms of resistance was the Ghost Dance, a syncretic ceremony founded by the Paiute prophet Wovoka. We will ask to observe. May I sit and watch your ceremony? A man steps out of the crowd wearing a side-brimmed hat. I have heard of you and your part in the resistance. We would be honored if you would stay with us. Thunder and lightning brace the sky, and we got some well-being for it. A man approaches and taunts you. Who are you? You look ugly. I suppose we shall talk to this man. Excuse me? He offers you a trade and insists on something you have hunted yourself. A Heyoka is a sacred crown, a contrary medicine person who is known to be upside down, sideways, backwards, and goes against the norm, but holds ceremonies to benefit people. I don't know. Man called me ugly first thing. Do I trade with him, or do I simply leave? Heads we trade, tails we leave. Because I really could go either way on this. Alright. Heads we trade. And apparently we didn't trade anything. You see a long path before you. You start walking towards another place. A northern Cheyenne woman is humming nonchalantly to herself and picking choke cherries. She nods at you, then continues gathering. You try to start a conversation when you hear a noise behind you. We shall be still. Little Buffalo Bullwoman. I am Little Buffalo Bullwoman, and my brother behind you is Singing Elk. Can I pick some of those berries with you? The woman grabs a handful of her berries and gives them to you. You eat them. They make you thirsty, and she smiles. They make your mouth dry, ain't it? She offers you water from the river and shares her story with you. I've been on the run from the Vejo ever since I was little. We walked up here from Oklahoma when I was 8 winters old. After we killed Longhair Custer, we were sent there. We wanted to stay with the Lakota as promised, but they wouldn't let us. When we got there, our southern Cheyenne relatives had little food to share with us. Many died from the sickness the white calls measles, and they decided it would be better to die fighting our way back in the north. After many months of struggle, they captured half of us, 150 of us, and placed us in Fort Robinson in winter when it was very cold. Soon we decided to break out, so we put together the pieces of guns women had stashed, and shot several of the guards, and ran for our lives. There were many of us who fell, with warriors staying behind to fight a Cheyenne's death and sing their song, so we could have time to run. I've been running ever since, but the old women say a nation is not conquered until the hearts of its women are on the ground. Even though we run, we're still here. After listening, we return to our journey. As you walk along the river, Singing Elk catches up to you. Sorry about earlier. I was just looking out for my sister. Do you know how to hunt? You assure him that you know how to hunt. Singing Elk considers you for a moment before nodding his approval. He ports to a trove of trees about a mile up with his lips. That's good. There's white-tailed deer on those cottonwoods over there. They're hard to get even with a gun. We need some meat to take back to the camp at the agency. If not, we can kill a farmer's cow and take the meat back. If me and Little Buffalo Bullwoman can flush a cow toward you, can you shoot one of them? They will be coming fast. In 1890, the white-tailed deer had declined so much that they became very hard to hunt. Northern Cheyenne had to resort to luring cows, and ramifications for being caught were far worse than anticipated. Okay, chat, do we go for the cow? Do we illegally... I mean, granted, everything the government is doing should basically be illegal. But do we illegally go for the cow, or do we hunt the deer? Softcore saying deer? I guess we'll go for the deer. Good. You are running from the Vejo, so we understand. We will help you all that we can. Welcome to our land. Now let's get some meat. We only have 3 arrows anyway, which means we can only take down 1. But we'll do it. North toward the Powder River Range, or west toward Crow Territory? West is best. I guess we go west. You see settlers sharing a meal down by the river. They invite you to join them. Not inclined to join settlers, but food is food. We enjoy a hearty meal. And now we have dysentery. Great. Great. Love that. I love that for us. Freaking white men. An elder is looking to trade baskets of food in exchange for medicine. She explains that she can no longer legally gather traditional plants after the allotment. We don't really have the medicine to give. But, again, I was taught to respect my elders, so give the medicine we shall. We go to the west. We accidentally step on a wasp, and it stung us. Of course! Of course. That's just the way, I like it. A man is whittling knives when we pass by. Let us talk to the man. He has knives for sale. They are the best kind. He only takes money. Well, we don't have that, so What can you tell me about this place? If you look too strange, the townsfolk will shun you. If I were you, I'd move on past this place. Easier not to bother yourself here. Deadwood is a small, bustling town built from the Black Hills gold rush. Miners came in droves to stake claim in the gulch filled with dead trees. In 1889, Dakota Territory is split into 2 states, North Dakota and South Dakota. Although the rush is over by 1890, the town continues to be quite active. We'll continue on our way then. And we shall continue to the north. We find medicinal plantain growing low to the ground near the water. We are gonna gather it. We gather plantain leaves, which are good for placing on wounds to heal them. We see a long path before us. We start walking towards another place. Following allotment of the Nez Perce Agency Reservation, the United States Cavalry has set up a detachment during the spring to keep white ranchers from grazing their cattle on tribal cattle land. You are surrounded by land which is nothing but horizon except for a small community of teepees. An absolute person is tending to their home when you approach. We nod respectfully. Welcome to Absolute Land. I am Enemy Hunter. We shall listen. I am Bitte. We have always been and will always be a part of the Absolute people. We shall gift. We do not have a ton of medicine to gift, but gift we shall. Thank you. Our spiritual guides, the Awakukule, will watch over you when you leave our territory. I sure hope so. Getting real tired of stepping on wasps. Softcore, south or west is best. Some of the food you're carrying needs to be bundled better, but stopping to deal with it may be dangerous. There are signs of nearby predators. I mean, I'm kind of tentative to take the risk of getting attacked by nearby predators, but also if food that we're carrying needs to be bundled better, we're just going to attract predators if we don't rebundle it, so... While leaning against a boulder, you kneel to ensure the precious foodstuffs are as well wrapped as possible. You hear wolves in the near distance, but they pay us no mind. Thank you, my furry brethren. A pair of huge black ravens swoop and play in the air above you. They flip and twirl and even fly upside down. There is something shiny that they are dropping and catching between them. We shall look. One of them fails a catch, and the shiny thing plummets to the ground, landing deep in a crack between a pile of stones. The birds land by the stones, frustratedly croaking and chortling while they try to retrieve their treasure. The ravens work diligently, using their great beaks, but to no avail. The stones are too heavy. They eventually settle for playing with a nearby stick instead. Feeling sad for the ravens, we fish around in our bag and produce a small colorful stone, which you toss over near the rocks. The ravens look at you suspiciously, then consider the stone. They grab it and fly away. A few minutes later, you see one of them flying back to you, and it drops something shiny at you. What lands at your feet is a silver dollar. You pick up the silver dollar and flip it casually in your hands as you continue on your way. Guys, we found Sasquatch! You see a tall, hairy figure pass through the tree line. We found Sasquatch! Whatever it was sure moved fast. We're following Sasquatch. We make a bold move and pursue it to get closer. It's a Bigfoot! I called it! I was joking, but we found Sasquatch! We found Simsquish! When they were building the rail line, they had a construction camp just above the tunnel near the village. The camp started noticing things going missing from the storehouse and the meat cache. After so many nights, a couple of the camp workers decided to arm themselves with clubs and ropes and stakes and stake out the storehouse to capture the culprit. After midnight, they saw a large shadow creeping about the storehouses. It dug through the garden at first, pulling up the card labels for vegetables and trying to taste them. After that, the giant broke into the meat house. It tasted the salted fish and didn't like it, turning over the barrel. When this racket ensued, the awaiting team pounced, lassoing the giant around its neck. When he moved to escape, he snapped his neck and died. A native passerby saw the campers standing and looking at the body, what is now known to be Sasquatch, and quickly run to tell the chief what he had seen. The chief then gathered his warriors and traveled to the site, demanding the body. It was then taken and buried with traditional blessings in our village cemetery. We believe Sasquatch are humans transformed after practicing medicine on the land. You continue on your way, thinking about the Bigfoot. Guys, we found Sasquatch! West is best. Run, coerce, or resist. Chat. We resisted once and got mollywomped. We ran and did successfully get away one time. I've yet to try to coerce them because that's just not generally who I am, but... Run away! We exhaust ourselves but manage to escape. It's okay. West is best. Also the only option we had. As the sun descends in the west and you settle down in the relative quiet of the evening prairie, your attention is drawn to a raspy, grinding sound in the grass. There is something there. We shall look. In the dimming light, you see a small brown figure moving about the base of a bush. As you watch, it moves from bush to bush, nibbling and gnawing at something. We shall look again. It's a mouse, eating fresh strawberries. When it moves on, you pick up where it left off and enjoy a sweet snack. You continue on your way, feeling satisfied. Opposite, I offered food in exchange for medicine, but whatever. Your throat feels scratchy and your ears ache. We are going to rest. We are not going to push through. Sitting, you notice some nearby leafy greens. You collect them and chew to ease the discomfort. Your throat feels a bit better, so you decide to continue. Feel like if we pushed on, we would have either lost some medicine by taking medicine, or well-being, or both. Nearby, a native woman is being cornered by an Indian agent. The Indian agent gets increasingly aggressive with the woman as she resists his questions. I don't care what our well-being is sitting at. We are helping. You draw the attention of the Indian agent by taunting him. You get into a scuffle, but you consider it a victory since he is successfully distracted. The Indian agent knocks you to the ground, and as he leaves you to make a report, the woman thanks you for getting involved. She gives you with a red cloth to wrap a sama in. Little wild red strawberries catch our attention. We gonna gather them! We've already read about the strawberry previously, so we don't need to read about them again. We head to the west. You're passing through when you overhear a conversation about treaties. If they don't sign more treaties, then what does that mean for us? Then we will have lost our sovereignty. We will no longer be recognized as nations, but as Americans like them. We must resist and insist that they sign. In this case, I don't think we should get involved in politics. I'm going to go ahead and continue, if you think that that's the best move too, chat. We've got 4 well-being, and it would take 2 of it. So, gamer play-wise, the logical thing would be to continue and not risk our well-being. Personality-wise, I probably would help. Alright. Your presence in the Resistance helps ensure that allotment is delayed, but the treaties are left unresolved. You're traveling through the Nez Perce Reservation borderlands when you come across a Nimipu elder. He is carrying a spear with him. We shall talk to him. What brings you this way, friend? I've been run off my land and territory, and I hope to help where needed. Be careful. The agents here don't like us going off the reservation. If they see too many of us away from this place, they think I'm going to war. But a few of the men like to go and see their relatives up towards... I'm not even going to try that. They travel up the old grade and cross the prairie with horses. In June 1877, 3 Nimipu renegades shot cattle of settler farmers in and around the Mount Idaho Prairie. That was the night a war was waged against the Nimpu by the U.S. cavalry, which included Idaho militiamen. Although the war against the Nimpu ended in October 1877, there were war chiefs and warriors who escaped into Canada seeking refuge with Sitting Bull. Both the Hunkpapa and Nimpu nations were considered hostiles and enemies of the U.S. government and exiled from their home territories. Funny how it's their home, yet they're the ones that are hostiles. Not funny, haha, funny, infuriating. You come upon the place where the Nimpu leader's elder lives. He has returned with many fish and welcomes you inside. Just as you begin to feel comfortable, a young woman arrives. Grandfather! Grandfather! I'm home! Ah, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her name. Where have you been? Where are your mother and father? The superintendent sent a wire that they are no longer with us. They died of the sickness that was going around the sanatorium. Native people were taken away from reservations and forced to stay in sanatoriums when they became ill. Despite promises that people will recover, diseases spread rampantly within tight spaces, and lack of care leads to many deaths. Can you bring me the pen and paper? I need to write this letter and get it to the courthouse. Hurry. You help the elder find a pen and paper. What are you writing? Since is not a man, and she is not be viewed as the head of the home. The law will be against us. She will not be able to inherit any deed or land from her parents. We must act quickly to resolve this. You offer good thoughts for a resolution and continue on your way. You see a long path before you. You start walking towards another place. Following a decision made by the United States government in 1874 to change reservation borders without consultation, 3 of the 4 tribes that make up the Blackfeet Confederacy permanently relocate to Canada, and those remaining in the U.S. make peace with neighboring tribes. The U.S. government offers cattle and herding equipment in exchange for stolen land, but the tribes struggle to adjust to farming and ranching. Oh, we don't have west as an option here, softcore, so we can't do west is best. North or east? East. It's the closest to west. You see a native elder putting up a campfire from a distance. Looks like they need help. We will approach, and we will help. You share birch bark trimmings to help start the fire. The elder gives you medicine for your kindness. That's nice, but I need food. As you walk alongside the railroad tracks, you come across an abandoned camp. We shall look. The camp has only recently been deserted. Other than remnants of an old fire, only abandoned railroad working tools remain. Chinese miners worked on placer mines and then transitioned to building railroads after the gold rush. They worked for half the wage of a white railroad worker was paid, receiving only $1 a day. After the railroad was built, many stayed and formed small businesses, including mercantile trading, laundromats, and restaurants. But their success drew the ire of white owned businesses who were afraid of the competition. Soon, white citizens began to organize against Chinese business owners, and by 1909, laws in Montana aimed at Chinese increased their taxes and prevented them from becoming citizens, voting, owning property, and even marrying anyone who was not Chinese. Many left to the west around 1890 with hope for better lives in Chinatowns. You see nothing salvageable, so you continue on your way. The gathering of Salish, Pendodera, and Kootenai face the lower Flathead River when you approach. The lower Flathead River has been a significant historic and cultural resource to the Salish, Pandoriel, and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Indian Reservation. Today, tribal land management is committed to maintain the river corridor's environmental integrity. One effort in doing so is through educating youth about the river's importance, as well as plants, animals, and fish that depend on the river. These teachings are shared during the annual river honoring themed Living in Balance with the River, which is organized by tribal fisheries and wildlife staff. Not so long ago, the rivers were homes and paths for us to visit with one another. We did our best to continue to live this way, in balance with the river. Hey, they said the thing when rivers were trails. I mean, it didn't say trails, they said paths, but it's close enough. When the elder finishes, the community becomes very active and welcomes you to join them in appreciating all of what the river has to offer. We shall fish, because we need food. I need a big boy. I need a big boy. Give me a big boy. I need a big boy. It tain't much, but it gave me 2 more food, so I'll take it. We see buffalo in the distance. I don't normally like hunting buffalo, but we gonna hunt buffalo. We got him. And I believe that... I don't think it maxes out our food. It almost maxes out our food, so... You approach a 4-story school where a Mitas teacher tends to lacrosse sticks outside. It's getting harder and harder to teach here. Now that Louis Rael is no longer with us, they've segregated the schools. Anini and Piegan Blackfeet boarding students are separated from white students. This area's most prominent locale is St. Peter's Mission, a complex that makes up the only visible buildings. Just a few years ago, the Jesuits built a 4-story boys' school, where Louis Rael came to teach. Before long, Aineen and Piegan Blackfeet boarding students made up the bulk of the school. Eventually, Métis day students all attended. In 1889, the school elected to segregate Native children from white children. Of course they did. Is it worth teaching in that kind of school? Someone has to stay and teach. We need teachers from our nations, so they can tell the story from within. You stay and help tend to the lacrosse sticks before moving on your way. While walking along an established trail, you mistakenly come near a military encampment and quickly take cover. Some days, I don't know what we fight for. This is their land. The purpose of allotment is to create the American Indian. The purpose of allotment is to create individual landowners. They should be grateful. Their argument grows more heated. You carefully sneak away so as to not draw attention. You hear a gathering of native people arguing. They are not happy as strangers. Hello there, yes, it is I, Derek from the future! You can tell because of the lighting. I have to apologize. Twitch apparently had a server error. They had multiple of them throughout the day. So our gameplay got a little chopped up during this stream. So I'm here to tell you that you're going to see a little bit of clipping from the last clip that you just watched to the one that you're about to watch, because I'm going to stop talking now, and we're going to get back to our gameplay, already in progress. Hey there, me again, Derek from the future. Again, you can tell because the lighting's different. This is just another moment. I guess Twitch's servers had a rolling outage. So we got about 18 minutes of gameplay that got captured, and then we had another small break of it not capturing anything. So this is me just telling you that you're going to have a clip now, and then you'll get clipped back in here in just a second when we return to our gameplay, already in progress. Not the greatest, but it gives us well-being, which we were even worse on, so I'll take it. You offer the Cree tobacco. One of the men acknowledges you, but hesitantly. Some of us have found work near the fort, but the Indian agents here are out for us. They call us British Crees and try to force us back to Canada. Do we encourage them to find work near the fort, or do we discourage them with the fear of the Indian agents? Heads for encourage, tails for discourage. Heads for actually, we've done that before. We've done heads and then tails. We're gonna do tails for encourage and heads for discourage. And yet we still got heads. So I guess we're going to discourage. I hear you're just avoiding justice. The man abruptly stops talking to you and directs the rest of the Cree to head out. West is best. A train station several hours east of the Blackfeet Agency, you see an elderly man sitting with two other men, one of them smoking. The smoking man regards you dismissively. The elderly man gestures for you to come over to him. He says something in Blackfoot and then shakes your hand. And when you shake your head, he begins to speak to you in a well-articulated but heavily accented English. Where are you from? I can tell you're not from here because you look funny. You have that funny look. He says something in his language to the other two. They laugh. Where are we? I'm right where I belong. You're not any different than the white men. You belong somewhere else. This land was always ours. I hunted not far from here when I was a boy. Hunted with my father and my uncles. When I was a boy, there were buffalo everywhere. The sound of their running was like thunder coming over the hills. This land was ours until we signed one of the agreements with the white men. That is why I am going east. To talk about this with them. They have not paid us. They have not kept their agreement with us, so we will talk to them. You nod, sensing that you're not welcome here. You overhear the miners fighting over gold that they are bringing back from the Sweetgrass Hills. I knew that was going to cost me. Intervening just draws their attention to you. They think that you are after their gold and run you off. Buffalo bones, crushed by being thrown together and bleached by the sun, are strewn about haphazardly. For the spirit of the buffalo, and solemnly continue our journey. You hear that there is a man at the church who is paying people to let him record them. You've heard of these recording machines before, but you've never seen one yourself, so out of curiosity, and the possibility of being fed, you make your way to the large brick church. Ask about the archivist. How did you get here? There were writings published in a magazine by a white man who came some years ago and lived with the Blackfeet. He's still here. I just saw him the other day. He's a good writer, but he is a Sioux, one of these men who has wasted much of his life on drink. Believe me when I say he has approached a negative influence on more than one person here. Myself, I am a sober man. I go to church weekly, and I do my daily constitutionals each day before dawn. I have no time for that nonsense. But our friend, his contributions on the page have been nothing less than immense. And many years from now, what he has done will be a valuable companion to those recordings and the book that I am working on. What are these recordings doing? Or where are these recordings going? Sorry. They'll go to a university in the east, not far from where the Great White Father resides. There are many people there who will hear them and study them, and in this way, these things will go on. For many generations beyond the end of our own lives, someone will be able to hear that young woman sing, the one you saw earlier. These phonographs are extraordinary. They contribute to humanity invaluably. I'm just doing my small part to help the people here, so their descendants can hear the old people in their own voices. You continue on your way, thinking about what you've been told. You arrive at the agency building. You knock on the door, but there is no answer. You notice a peephole in the door, one you have to bend down slightly to look into. Nothing. You notice a man has come out of one of the lodges. He's holding a baby. Is this where the agent is? Yes, but you'll never talk to him. He stays inside, locked away. He laughs. I'm looking for work. I need food. Do you know of any way to speak with him? He's in there with his morphine. Most of the time, he only talks to us through a hole in the door. He's been here for a few winters now. No one likes him. Why don't you stay with us tonight? We can feed you. You talk well into the night, sitting in his lodge, while his wife cooks and cares for the baby. You stay on with him for several days, and he tells you a story. A while back, I survived a great battle. I was young then, and was just going around, looking for things to do with myself. The buffalo were gone already by then, and all we had of them were stories, things we had done, relatives who had died hunting or in battle, with the Salish or the Cree or the Crows, for instance. I was far east of here. I heard of work. There was an American general who was looking for Indian scouts, people who knew the land and the people here. So I signed up, looking for adventure the way young men will when they don't know anything. We spent our time far away from here. Luckily, I'd been out that way twice with my father during a time of peace. We were not fighting with our enemies during that time. We went out that way to trade. I remembered much of what we had seen. After a time, we fought with Sioux and Cheyenne, trying to get them back onto their land. At the time, I thought nothing of it. It was exciting. I got paid for doing it at a time when many of us were starving. And these people, they were our enemies often enough. I felt no allegiance to them. Now, though, I think differently. We were doing to them what has since been done to us. So we got into this huge battle. They were around us on all sides, the enemy. And the battle, it went on all day. We got wiped out. They killed that General Custer. I remember that. I remember the sounds he made when those women came out, scooped out his eyes, cut off his ears, cut out his tongue. See, I was under some bodies. I had covered myself up because I didn't want to die for those guys. I never wanted to die for them. I just wanted money, wanted some adventure. So I hid under those bodies, and when it was dark, I left the battlefield. I walked off. On my way out, I ran into 2 Sioux warriors. I heard them coming, and they certainly heard me, but I couldn't go anywhere. If I ran, I knew they would come after me, and that would be the end of me, because the fires of the enemy were burning all around. When we met, it was dark. There was no way they could see me, but I knew they would talk to me. They greeted me, and I'm fortunate enough to know some Sioux. I knew enough to respond, and then walked on into the dark. And that was it. That was how I survived that battle. I came back here, and never really went out again. Not for that sort of thing. Do you miss those days? I don't have time to think about that. I have to feed this woman and this baby and myself. And I have to think about this worthless agent who talks to us through a hole and won't give out rations the way he's supposed to. You ask the man to go hunting with him because they are low on food. Or the man asks you to go hunting with him because they're low on food. Then hunting we shall go. West is best. Do we go west or do we go north? It has become a thing in chat that west is best, but I will still ask. Well, as I said, it's become a thing in chat that west is best, so west we shall go. You're getting ready to rest for the night as the stars shine brightly above. We shall look up. You drift off looking at Mang Loon, the messenger who stands at the doorway between the water and the land. Mang Loon, the Little Dipper constellation, is a messenger and leader who always stays close to the water at the doorway between the sky above and the earth below. Mang helped Nanbush place the stars and planets in the sky, including Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. In turn, Mang includes Kiwidin Ong, the North Star Polaris, which shines brightly to show the way north. You feel restored when you wake up and continue your journey. You draw the suspicion of an Indian agent. We run. We make it safely away with all of our belongings. You fall asleep under the shelter of some aspens, hoping to get some rest before boarding the next train. You oversleep and wake up just in time to watch the train go by. You hear someone laughing behind you. You turn to find a woman, likely in her 60s, standing there. She gestures for you to follow her. A few minutes later, you are sitting on the dirt floor of a cabin, comfortably eating elk meat. She begins to sign, asking you a few things about yourself, where you're from, and where you're going. She is dressed in men's clothing, wears beat-up moccasins. As the light fades outside, after gesturing for you to pause in the telling of her story, she goes to the back of the one-room cabin, bringing back 2 blankets. She turns the coals in the fire pit in the center of the floor, adds a few chunks of wood, and sits. She begins to sign to you again. When I was young, I wanted to hunt with my brothers, so I did. When I was older, I wanted to go out to war with the men, so I did. There were men who did not think I could do it, though there have always been women like me among us. They stopped talking when I killed my first Cree in battle. He had a surprised look on his face when I sank the blade into his chest, and he cursed me with his last breath. After that, I could go with the men if I wanted. Sometimes I went out, sometimes I stayed in camp. I did what I wanted, and I stole many horses. I was good at stealing horses. When I was young, I rode everywhere with my brothers. I had a pretty sister. She married a weak man who was a bad hunter, and for a long time I and my brothers had to hunt for her also, so she and her children did not starve. Her husband, he treated her very poorly, so after some time we took care of her. I'm glad to have lived like a man. There was a man who really loved me, back when I was young and some said I was pretty. He talked to my parents, and my father said it would not work because I was not that way. But this man, he would not let up. He tried to talk with me all the time. One day he asked me, "How can I marry you? I've never felt like this about any woman. I've never wanted to marry you. But now I want to marry you. What can I do?" So I told him, "We will steal horses. If you can steal more horses than me, then I will marry you." So we both rode out, going east toward a camp of crows where there was a chief who was known for the number of horses he owned. We waited until it was the middle of the night, during the darkest, quietest time, and we went in and took his horses. We rode all night, all the way back to camp, and when we counted, he had 10 horses, and I had stolen 15. He never spoke to me again, and the other men teased him for the rest of his life. That's how it was with us. We never forget those things. But that's how it is with us. We never forget those things. And I never did marry, although I had many women myself. Where did you get the meat? This young man brings me food. He is my sister's grandson. He treats me really good. We never ate much elk when I was young, only sometimes. But with the buffalo gone, we eat whatever we can. You decide to go hunting for the woman to repay her for your generosity and her stories. Oh, a-hunting we will go, a-hunting we will go. Hi-ho the dairy-o, a-hunting we will go. Dang it. Well, we got us a rabbit. And that's it. I feel bad. You encounter someone asking about a safe place to fish. You give what you think are good directions to the last place you fished. They thank you and leave. You see a long path before you. You start walking towards another place. The original Colville Reservation was established in 1872, but relocated west merely 3 months later to open fertile farming land to non-natives. Most traditional lands were excluded from the new, smaller reservation boundaries. After the passage of the Great Allotment Act, the division of tribal land begins. Conversion to Catholicism has increased exponentially. The Yakima Reservation has been struggling to accommodate nearly 500 Northern Paiute, who have only recently been allowed to leave the reservation, either to return to their homelands in Nevada. Doing it in this voice is difficult. Nevada. Or, as many chose, to relocate to the Warm Springs Reservation in Oregon, located further west on traditional homelands. The general store owner welcomes you in enthusiastically and makes an offer right away on your regalia. He rarely sees such beadwork in the area and has plenty of food to trade for it. We also have plenty of food, so no! No amount of food is worth giving up who you are. You find a good fishing spot when you draw the attention of an Indian agent who eyes up your foods. Again, we have enough food. I'll cooperate. We shall gather raspberry leaves. I already read about raspberry leaves earlier. The water is rushing with salmon when you reach Kettle Falls. A fisherman notices you as you approach. Hey there, young'un. You new around here? I just rode in today. Do you know a place I can stay? That depends. You didn't come empty-handed, did you? Please accept this gift of medicine with my thanks. Would you mind if I stayed in your territory until I move on? Nice to meet you, cousin. Welcome to Kettle Falls. Our camp is right over there. Tell my mother I sent you. I'll get you fed, and then we can figure out where you're heading. Prior to 1942, the Kettle Falls fishery was a major trade hub for the Plateau region. During the salmon run, the falls could support 5,000 people between the Cynics, Arrow Lakes caretakers of the falls, and their seasonal visitors. Kettle Falls was a 10,000-year-old fishery. Archaeological research has found trade goods and materials from all over the North American continent that have been found at Kettle Falls. The fish were so abundant that early Europeans once counted 2,000 salmon being pulled from a single basket trap in one day. This abundance was ensured by the Cynics people, who would not allow any unsanctioned access to the salmon or water of the falls. This was enforced by the salmon chief, who would oversee the falls and tell Cynics and visitors when to cease operation. You thank him and walk to the camp. In the Hey there, me again, Derek from the future. Again, you can tell because the lighting's different. This is just another moment. I guess Twitch's servers had a rolling outage. So we got about 18 minutes of gameplay that got captured, and then we had another small break of it not capturing anything. So this is me just telling you that you're going to have a clip now, and then you'll get clipped back in here in just a second when we return to our gameplay already in progress. Now, those who are now called the Southern Okanogan people, separate from their northern relatives by the US-Canadian border, and the barrier left by the elimination of the North half. Despite this, Salix people from both Colville and the British Columbia First Nations would routinely cross the border under the cover of night. That makes two of us. Are you headed to Kettle Falls to trade, or are you just another one of those horse bums? We'll help. Can you manage guiding a horse? Two is too much for the girl, and I have to keep an eye out. You answer to the elder's needs and then depart. While traveling the Auhi, I can speak, I swear, the Auhi Flats, you come across a young girl who is clearly distraught. Tear lines streak her cheeks. She notices you and takes a step back. Are you one of them? I'm not with them. Is someone trying to hurt you? I didn't see them. We were getting the groceries. Mom told me to hide in the bushes, and now she and Dad are... Why did they do this? Traveling tribal members were often victims of deadly attacks. The granddaughter of Chief Moses, a Sinakus Columbia chief, also known as Sulkatalsoksum, was the sole survivor of one of these attacks when her family was traveling to buy groceries and dry goods for the camp. Is there someone who can take care of you? My grandpa has a camp down the road. We were supposed to bring the buckboard there. Can you take me? Very well. Stay close, little one. You help the young girl reach her family members in Nespelem. When you arrive, the girl rushes ahead of you. Grandma, I'm home! The Sinkius, finding themselves on a reservation full of enemies, invited the Walwama Nimipu, I can speak, to travel with them in the Nespelem district of the Colville Reservation. Due to the fact that both of these tribes had been enemies of the other reservation inhabitants, they formed tight-knit communities, often taking the form of traditionalist camps that were predominantly Sinakus or Walawama. Oh, my grandbaby! Where have you been? Where are your parents? We didn't see them coming. I'm the only one left. This person found me and brought me home. Please accept this cedar. Hopefully it'll help during this time. Thank you for caring. What brings you this way, friend? I'm on my way south. Can you help me? The agents don't like us going off the reservation. If they see too many of us away from this place, they think I'm going to war. But a few of the men like to go and see their relatives around Yakima and take the river south. You thank the elder for the insights and continue on your way. You hear a gathering of native people arguing. We're going to avoid this time, considering we know what happened last time. A young Indian agent approaches you. He warns you about a string of crimes against Indians off the reservation, and asks if you've seen anything that could be helpful. You haven't seen anything, but you promise you'll keep your eyes open. The Indian agent thanks you and bids you well. And it'll even us out, so we'll do that. You come across a starving elder who is unable to relocate with his nation. He desperately needs food and offers medicine for trades. That we shall do. Evens us out. I said I was going south when I was talking to the elder, so as much as west is best, I think we're going to head south. You need to cross the tracks when you hear the train in the distance. We shall wait. A cascade of blueback salmon leap upriver. A hawk swoops down and makes a fine catch. We need food, so we're gonna fish. I don't know that there would have been a bigger boy. I probably could have waited, but... You hear a gathering of native people arguing. We are avoiding again. Making your way south, you rest near a fork in the road. You catch a glimpse of something moving to your right. Upon closer inspection, you see two women approaching you, notably in settler clothing. You decide to trust the women, and they lead you into a small, fireless campsite several stones throw from the road. These ladies have picked out a small cutout near a nurse tree that provides relief from the wet, cold wind. "This is my sister Jay. My name is Johnny." They begin to share their story with flashy hand gestures, alternating who is speaking. "We're trying our best to get through the embargo at the junction in Olympia to reach the tribes who are gathering for potlatch, which I'm guessing is potluck. Settlers and American forces are blocking us from taking supplies to our relatives in Saxon land. Talk of uprising and scaremongering about the ghost dance had caused the government to block access to the inland area of the local tribes from north of Olympia. The potlatch, a gathering to share foods and belongings, helps struggling tribes. With worries about an uprising, settlers think it's too dangerous to allow this to happen. Only small canoes and individual small boats can make it to these gatherings through the embargo. "Will you help us? We need someone to help watch while we reclaim our canoe that was stolen by settlers." You agree to help them, and you head out. You follow the sisters through the brush and undergrowth to a clearing. Your job is to alert the sisters if the night watchman walks into the field where the canoe is stored. The canoe is in the work shed. You position yourself in a spot to hide while effectively scoping out the scene. The sisters expertly maneuver to the shed and make their way in. However, when the sisters disappear from view, a large shadow is cast on the back of the shed. The sisters exit the building in a rush and make it back to you. The watchman sees them as they run. You hear his call for the hunting dogs and realize that this attempt is over. You all separate, realizing the futility with the hunting dogs and increased attention. You sneak away. A crack of lightning lights up the sky, followed by booming thunder and sudden high winds. You quickly take cover and tend to yourself as thunder rolls on. You have the opportunity to exercise your treaty rights by setting a trap. You carefully set a trap and then wait in hiding. Patience pays off and you catch a small animal. And now we are in Yakima. A native woman is interested in trading with you. She explains that her husband and sons have passed on and getting a proper meal is hard these days. She offers you bear root, which is good for curing sore throats, colds, and even the flu. You're glad to acquire bear root. Your grandmother used to give this to you to chew on when you were little. The city of Yakima is quite a contrast to the Yakima Reservation. "Oh there, stranger! What brings you to Yakima? Must be a reason you're here and not on your reservation." "Trading, perhaps. Are you willing to barter?" "You don't need to trade anything. Here." You overhear a young man and an older man caught up in an argument. "They used to try to rob us of who we were by pushing all of our tribes together, and now they're trying to tear us all apart. With each family that accepts their deal, we lose a piece of ourselves." Ownership of the lands around Yakima Nation has been in dispute dating back to the Treaty of 1855. An 1890 survey of the Yakima Reservation, accepted by the General Land Office, did not include what is now called Glenwood Valley and Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. The original treaty map was found in 1930, after being misplaced for decades. In the meantime, 98,000 acres of the Glenwood Valley had passed into private ownership. Another 21,000 acres were part of the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest administered by the Department of Agriculture. After more than 100 years of dispute, 21,000 acres of Mount Adams, including the summit, were returned to the Yakima Nation in 1972. You don't even like that I wear these clothes. Your devotion to the old ways is why our dinner's cold. No cooking after sundown. I'm not saying we should give up our identity, but this is our world now. We should try to keep up. They're trying to make it their world. No need to keep up with that. You have a good head on your shoulders, unlike this one. You burn cedar and breathe in the smoke until the discomfort passes. You approach the water's edge. The water is calm. Canoe minigame! No! Leave me alone, beavers! Leave me alone, Justin Beaver! Oh no! Tensions are high in Oregon as Northern Paiute are forcefully relocated to Warm Springs and must face past conflicts between the Tenino and Wasco tribes. Recommendations have been made to the United States government to relocate the Warm Springs Reservation to another, more fertile location, and to abandon and sell the land. There is little appropriate farming land available, and many are in dire circumstances. You're starting to feel dehydrated. You don't have water, but berries are a good alternative. There may be some around, but it'll take some time to look for them. You spend a few hours looking in the forest to find a handful of berries. It's better than nothing. A native woman is foraging for medicines. The agents are giving all the good land away. They are selling it to the rails and the mines. I can spare a medicine. You offer her medicines for her troubles. She thanks you profusely. Thorns are intermixed with raspberries on bushes that line the water. You gather raspberries so as to avoid getting scratched up by thorns. While trying to get some sleep by the water, you're awoken by a sound. You hear the songs of frogs. Their quiet song lulls you back to sleep. Thanks, Froggy. You're traveling near the Cascade Nation. You're traveling where the Cascade Nation has been scattered throughout riverside towns, and many people have taken work. You see a mail carrier and a riverboat captain. Both seem approachable. By 1890, the Americans have a small town here. They've just completed the locks around the rapids for easier access to the upper Columbia River for steamboats and barges. The native communities, the Cascade Nations, are now scattered up and down the Columbia. A few people still live in the riverside towns of Skamania, Stevens, The Dalles, and Cascades. Some native people have integrated with American culture, taking key roles like mail delivery, fishermen, cannery workers, and riverboat captains. We'll approach the mail carrier. Greetings. Welcome to the Watala Ilahi. My name is Mary. How are you? We shall ask about trade. I'm well, thank you. I'm looking to trade. Portland Ilahi is the place to go. Just talk to the riverboat captain, Michael Martineau, and he will grant you ferriage to Portland. We approach the river captain. Welcome to the Cascade Village. My name is Michael Martineau. I work all along the Columbia, from Astoria to the Dalles. My community is the Watala, who remain along the river. And this Cascade town is my home, where my grandmother's people yet live. Many still fish with nets at rapids and falls. Others now work in the factories, helping can salmon. We thank him for sharing, and we continue on our way. You arrive in Portland to a busy dock. You must look like you stand out, as a fisherman approaches you. Greetings! What can I do for you? First of all, we're going to read about Portland docks. Portland is just now becoming a major town in Oregon. While Oregon City is still the largest town and economic center, Portland is catching up and is the main international shipping port. There are rough longshoremen and shipping crews around the docks. There will be some 3- and 4-masted sailing schooners as well as steamers. In fact, the Beaver, the famous transportation schooner that traveled up and down the northwest coast, may be in port. There will also be many smaller steam-driven vessels for fishing on the Columbia River. We're going to... I don't want to because we only have 3, but we're going to go ahead and give some medicine to be able to fish. You offer tobacco and request permission to fish, which is granted to you. You are fortunate to come across Chief John, one of the chiefs of the Clackets. I have just got here from Grand Ronde Ilahi. My fishing shack is over there. You look like you've traveled a long way. This Ilahi is my original homeland. Those closest to the falls are the Kolewala. We had villages on both sides of the river, at Kanema above the falls too. One village was called Willamette, which is where the name Willamette comes from. Some 40 years ago, the white people came. They destroyed the land and waters by blasting a passage for steamboats and barges. They also did not know how to pronounce the name, so they always called it Willamette. In 1980, the Willamette Falls is a major industrial location in Oregon. There are grist mills, paper mills, woolen mills, and lumber mills on the east side, and power generation on the west side. The lock had been blasted through the west side of the falls in the 1870s, and the locks would be a major feature in helping get boats, steamboats, and barges full of passengers and goods from the lower river to the upper Willamette River. The tribal people who lived on the Grand Ronde have a small longhouse near the falls. I don't want to do it because we are running low on frickin' medicine, but I guess we're doing it. You see a rugged-looking farmer in the French prairie of Champoeg. He notices you and ushers you over. French prairie is full of farms, wheat, corn, and hops, and there are some small towns with docks for shipping. The location is a former Kalapuya village and a former early Oregon settlement, both of which are gone. Some native people married into the local farmers. Many farmers are French-Canadian who married native women. Native people also help harvest many of the crop, traveling from the reservation to help. How did you come to live here? Merci. I have lived here all of my life. I am Louis Labonte Jr., like my father before me. He was one of the first settlers in this area. He worked for Hudson Bay Company as a French fur trader for 20 years, and retired here to make a farm in this place. My mother was Chinook, and the daughter of a chief. This whole land is full of farms. We grow all manner of agriculture, and there are many cattle and sheep ranchers. John Minto, a famous American, brought Merino. I can speak, I swear. I apologize, chat. Merino sheep here years ago, and now it is one of the best products we have. The Kalapia people once lived in villages along the Willamette River. One of their main villages used to be right here at Champoeg. We live a little above the river so that they would not be flooded. The Americans built their first town right on the riverbanks, and in 1860 it was washed away by a 100-year flood. The town is gone and was never rebuilt. Champoeg signed a treaty and were moved to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation in 1856. They returned to this valley each summer to make money by helping harvest the many crops. I have many family members living in Grand Ronde. I have signed papers and pledged to become a citizen. But the paper has no power over me, and I still remember all of my culture. Merci. You find that this man seems long-winded. Rude! Traveler approaches and asks for you to share your medicine in exchange for food. We decline, because we don't have enough medicine. You approach a group of Kalapuya at a trading post on the Grand Ronde Reservation. There are a few young men, one older woman, and 2 children. You see commodity fish from the government and a few fish. In 1887, the Dawes Act became law and divvied 270 allotments totaling slightly more than 33,000 acres among individual and native people of the Grand Ronde Reservation. With these allotments came a provision that allowed the land to go from federal trust states to private ownership after 25 years. The stated purpose of the act was for the native people to learn agriculture. However, the result of this action was the transfer of major proportions of the reservation to non-native ownership. People were not allowed to leave the reservation without traveling papers, and as members of at least 27 different tribes were moved there, the Kalapuya were forced to live among historic enemies. You approach the Kalapuya, but they beat you to introductions and invite you to sit with them. The old woman, who introduces herself as Mabel Coyote, offers to tell a story. You and the Kalalupi decide to listen to the story. It tells of a hungry but clever coyote and his anger at the sleeping cougar for eating all the surrounding food. When he is accidentally awakened by the coyote's attempt to try and kill him, he challenges him to a race. Unfortunately, the cougar knows the coyote's plan to kill him and chases him into a field where the coyote tires. She says we all know how this ends, and to make sure you always help someone in need, no matter how foolish they may have been. You decide to leave the trading post, but the old woman stops you. Please help me. My husband has disappeared. He went south to the land of our Paiute Kaialupe ancestors. If you go that way, could you help him? I do not think the government gave him permission to do this, and I don't know if he intends to return. Hey, friend. I know you're not of this place, but I can tell that you are with the resistance. That man she wonders about is her husband, John Coyote. He's important in the resistance and will tell you how to get where you need to go. You say you'll keep an eye out for him, and then continue on your way. You're walking in Kaialupe territory, which is known to be tense from the removal of communities due to allotments, when you come across a man who is cautious of you and snaps. What is it you want? Maybelle sent me looking for her husband. Ah, then you've traveled far to find me. I'm visiting the land where people lived, before the Treaty of Daytona. The government promised protection from settlers, but you know how promises go. It is no matter. I will be with my ancestors soon. I just want to see this town, Eugene Skinner's mud hole, that was built on my grandfather's grave. The Eugene area, prior to its founding as Eugene City by settler and local ferry owner Eugene Franklin Skinner in 1851 and shortening to Eugene in 1889, was home to a variety of Kaialupa bands, including the Chifin Kaialupe, the Paiute or Mohawk Kaialupans, Winefelly Kaialupans, and the Lungtung Kaialupans. An epidemic of sickness, thought now to be malaria and traced back to European settlers, decimated their population and destroyed the social fabric of their society. With the continual arrival of settlers, the remaining Kaialupans would be forcibly removed along with many other Oregon tribes to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1856. Following the Treaty of Dayton, I can speak, I swear, I said Daytona before, Dayton in 1855. Notably, Eugene Skinner was helped by the Kaialupe of the area who advised him to build his trading post on elevated land due to flooding and mud during the rainy season. Eugene chose the region as he saw he could monopolize ferry operation and gain much revenue from the various traders and settlers who would be his customers as the area was settled. Before it was named Eugene City, many folks referred to the location as Eugene's Mud Hole. Maybelle's worried about you. You breathe in the familiar smell of sweetgrass. You gather sweetgrass and then sit to braid it for drying. Sweetgrass is a powerful memory stimulant. Its uplifting aroma attracts goodness. It can be fashioned into baskets. You see a Hannes Kus woman, spider woman, digging for roots near the spruce tree. She reminds you of your relatives who know about swamp medicines, the one you know not to mess with. You choose to ignore the woman and attempt to mimic her motions to collect your own spruce root. Unfortunately, you agitate mosquitoes and then promptly are bitten up. I was just trying to get more medicine. It seems you found Spider-Woman's camp while she is busy cooking. You notice a rather threatening-looking dog accompanying her. You attempt to get her attention so that she won't be surprised, but the dog has other plans. The dog charges at you barking fiercely, and you barely escape. You cross paths with a family in a canoe looking to head up the... As much as I live here, this is one I almost always mess up. Umpaka River. Upon closer inspection, it looks to be Spider-Woman's family. She waves at you and ushers you closer. She tells you to listen. After closing your eyes and lowering your head, she decides to tell you about the Maya, salmonberry. She explains that it can be eaten either as a shoot or as a berry, and the scent of the berry itself lures salmon back to spawn. Just be sure not to step in the water, or you'll scare the salmon away. Salmon berries are a rich source of magnesium and vitamins C and K. The young shoots of the plant can be eaten. A tea made with the leaves treats anemia and helps ease labor pains. Burns can be dressed with a poultice of the leaves. A poultice of roots can ease toothache. You find some shoots sprouting around the river and decide to take some for yourself. Your confidence is renewed and you continue on your journey. After heading up the Umpaka River looking for salmon, you cross a fish camp. You see Spider-Woman's family in the distance as she ties bundles in her canoe. Spider-Woman offers for her family to cook you a nice meal of nettles and salmon, but you must return the gesture by gathering plants. Well, they're cooking me nettles and salmon, so I guess I'll gather nettles. You think she said to gather nettles, so you go back to the river and find some. Spider-Woman is pleased and proceeds to explain that they are going to process the nettles into cordages and mending fish nets. As thanks, she lets you stay in the camp for the cold night. You notice that this territory is uniquely well established as farmland and approach the homesteaders. Welcome! We are Yonkala, one of the Kalupe tribes. My ancestors have lived here for many generations, but we are now farmers, loggers, and we do odd jobs for white farmers. Interesting. What else can you tell me about the land? This Umpaka Valley is the southernmost land of our people. My father, Chief Halo, was born north, outside of Cottage Grove along Roe River. The Umpaka River winds through the valley and is a good fishing river. Many tribes used to come from the coast to fish here. Now they are mostly on the reservation. We live at the Applegate Ranch. The Applegates are a settler family who are great friends with us, or with Jesse, who we are great friends with. Jesse Applegate is a good writer, but they employ us to run their farm, and they protect us from the government. Applegate is a prominent settler family with many people. By the 1890s, they were well spread out, but maintained friendships with local Kalupe tribe. They had been friends with Chief Halo, who died a few years ago, and now his sons, Beal and Sam Fearn. They work for the Applegates as ranch hands in a good relationship. The Applegates shielded them from being removed to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1856, and thereafter maintained a friendship with the family. They stopped the government from removing my family in the 1850s. You give Beal Fearn a farewell nod and continue on your way. Find a train heading south. You get on the train. You hear a disruption from inside the train cab adjacent to the flatbed you're balancing on. It's a train robbery, and you're nowhere near danger. Makes only being allowed to ride on the flatbed seem not so bad. After signing treaties in 1864, establishing the Hoopa Reservation in traditional lands in California, the Hoopa remain one of the few tribes that have not had to relocate. The Klamath tribe have established a flourishing economy of forestry, carpentry, blacksmithing, and cattle ranching. Well-established traditional paths have led to thriving trade networks between tribes, settlers, and corporate interests. Traditions of horsemanship help foster this economy. Your body feels weak as hunger sets in. We eat and we feel nourished. However, we are now down to one food. In the distance, you see a native elder looking back and forth between a paper in his hands and the land. The elder's caught off guard by your approach, but quickly warms up to you. The government said we get to own the land in 10 years. I don't know what that means, and neither did the agent. They are going to divide reservation land, give each adult a piece of land, and then hold it for us tax-free for 25 years. It's supposed to give us time to be more like them. The elder expresses his gratitude, and you continue on your way, missing your home. You walk along a river, trying to find a good place to fish. You finally find a place, but before you can attempt to catch anything, a man approaches you. Greetings! How are you? How are you? This place, Battle Rock, is where we fought against the Bostons, the Americans who first came here. We beat Ticanor and his men and made them run away. There was a battle at this rock in 1851 where the Six, Kawatami, and Rogue River native people drove off the first settlers at Port Orford. For native people, Battle Rock is their first successful fight against the colonists, who were even armed with a cannon. These first invaders escaped in the night, and the Americans returned and built Fort Orford. This became a major outpost in the gold trade center of the military during the Rogue River Indian Wars. The tribes involved in the war were shipped from Port Orford to Portland on steamers. I'm headed to California. Where are the people that-a-ways? I'm headed to California. Who are the people that-a-ways? There are still a few of our people at Brookings. They are well-to-do Indians. There is a big village at Smith River in California. I think they're running a fishing camp now. How far is that? Just a few days on the coast trail. You can walk along the beach pretty near the whole way. I just got done logging there in the coast range. I need to catch some fish here on the beach before going home. Want to bring your net and join me? Yes, I do. I don't know that that's the biggest boy we could have caught, but at least gives us 2 food, considering we were down to none. Chat, east or south? South it is. As you quietly make your way through the woods, hunting for easy game for the night, you come across an otter thrashing about in the water. It's got a large fish that's trying to pull to the bank. You think that if you act now, you could shoo it away and capture the fish for yourself. You decide to sit and watch the otter for a while instead. As you watch, you notice some rustling bushes near the shore by the otter. You become suspicious of the rustling and decide to play your drums and make bear noises to flush out whatever is hiding. Turns out it was a cougar that had been hunting the otter, and you just ruined his plan. You make a quick escape before the cougar decides to head your way. Well, I would have liked to have gotten the food, but at least we didn't get killed by a cougar. You see that a squirrel has fallen from a tree into the water. The squirrel is struggling to swim. We shall help it. You pull the squirrel from the water and place it on the rocks. As it runs away, you notice medicinal plants growing in between the crevices. We saved an otter! I wonder if it was a significant otter. On your path, there's a small group of homes with a bountiful farm. All you can think about is the food that you see growing. You knock on the door of one of the homes. The family lets you in. You learn that they are native and journeyed west like you several years ago. They offer you shelter for the night and give you plenty of food for your travels. Their kindness warms your heart. And gave me 1 food, which, thank the gods. The winds are picking up, and you resiliently trudge onward until you come to the water's edge. A woman greets you kindly, Chetco Jane. Greetings! Welcome to the Chetco, which is called Brookings now. I am a survivor of a great injustice to our people. They tried to kill us all off by burning our villages, but I escaped. I would have gone away with the others, but I found a white man to marry so I could stay on my land. I now live near the family cemetery and protect my people. The estuary of the river had 2 native villages, one on either side of the river. In the 1850s, an American wanted to build a town there to serve the gold miners inland, and hired exterminators, men from California who had already committed genocide on the Tolowa people, to kill all of the Chetco people and drive them away. One day, the exterminators purchased all the guns from natives nearby, and early the next morning, they set fire to their houses. As people came out of their homes to escape the smoke, they were shot. Only a few dozen survived by running into the forest. They are all elsewhere now. Some have gone to live with their relatives, the Tolowas, and some have gone to the Seelitz reservation. Where did your people go? Many went to the Seelitz reservation, and their children live there today. I visit sometimes. Many had to leave because they got no land. Others got bad allotments, and their land is all forest. They need jobs. Some distant relatives live at Smith River now. You know, all of us people, Hus or Denai, are from someplace, and so we are all related regardless of where we live. Smith River is only about 10 miles south. A beautiful Dantilium shell necklace is broken and strewn about the rocks. Footprints reveal that there has been a struggle here, but whoever was involved is long gone. We offer tobacco for the well-being of whoever struggled. We continue on our way, feeling concerned. I need food! You're walking along the beach when you see a man tossing and dragging a net in the waves. You make your way over to him. Greetings! I've been fishing for surf smelt for about 2 weeks now on Indian Beach, and now I'm ready to go home. I have to prepare for the shaker ceremony tonight. This is the native village of Hawannekut, and across the river is the origin place of Yontucket, which was burned in the 1850s. The Americans from Crescent City committed genocide against the Tolowas at least 3 times, killing some 1,100 people. Tolowas were imprisoned for a time at Battery Point Lighthouse. The federal government sought to remove them completely and move their people to Seelitz, to Klamath River Reservation, and to Hoopa, and every time they came back. They had the ranchery at Smith River, but it was also terminated. Now some people live at Hawannekut, and some live on the island in the middle of the river, which is eroding away and will soon be gone. Those on the island greatly fear the Americans who have attacked them many times in militia raids. As much as I want to ask about the ceremony, I need to fish. Come on, give me a big boy. Fishing is about patience. Okay, but could you give me some kind of inclination, indicator of when it's going to stop? I could have caught any of those fish and at least gotten one food, which I desperately need. East or south, chat? Welcome to an indie game, Ed South. Believe me, I've played many an indie game. I don't want to die. I'm running low on food. But hey, at least I didn't die of dysentery. I did get it, but I didn't die of it. You're following the river as a path you're following the river as a path when a man spots you and waves you over in a friendly manner. He can tell you aren't from his community, but he clearly doesn't mind. Greetings! Welcome to Requa, the center of the Yurok tribe. We used to have a reservation here, but it got flooded out. We now have this small village left, and many people were moved to Hoopa Reservation. The gold rush nearly killed us all off. They really tried to kill us all. They set fires and burned up many people, but we survived. In the 1860s, there was a large reservation here on the Klamath River. All of the tribes from the area came to the Klamath Reservation, including the Tolowas further up the coast. The Indian agents made them get their own food because there was not enough money to feed everyone. The tribes continued fishing salmon in the river, but a few years after the reservation was formed, there was a major flood which destroyed the reservation. All the buildings floated away. The federal government closed it, and the people returned to their former towns. Some Tolowas and Yuroks went to Hoopa for a decade. There is still a native settlement here with fishing shacks and plank houses on the coast. What do you do to thrive now? I was just going on to the river to do some salmon fishing with my net. We still use nets and spears, and I have to clear the wire. We going fishing again. And this time we're not waiting. I don't care if fishing is supposed to be about patience. You're looking for fresh water to drink when you find a creek. A Hoopa woman is working nearby. Greetings! How are you? I may have some mush for you soon. I gathered acorns about a week ago, and since then, they've been in the creek. Now I have them ground, and they are being cooked into mush. We shall ask about the acorns. Why were the acorns in the creek? Because they are very bitter, and the clean creek water will leach out the tannins. The mush is now very tasty, and I add a pinch of salt to spice it up. You can try some if you'd like. After trying a spoonful, you remark about its rather bland taste. Perhaps more salt would help. Esther isn't fazed by your hesitation. If you're not used to it, it can be different. Would you like a bowl? I will accept! You accept the bowl of mush and find its taste to still be bland, but nutty in flavor. She seems pleased. Natinswe. The Hoopa Reservation is on the original homelands of the Natinswe, the Hoopa tribe. They have amazing basketry traditions. These people have lived here for thousands of years, fishing salmon from the Klamath and Trinity rivers and gather acorns. The reservation began in 1864, with many tribes from the coast and in the interior who are now answer to Indian agents. You thank her for the sustenance, despite your misgivings, and continue on your way. You see a native man fixing a canoe. As you watch the man bending the bark, he shares teachings about canoes with you. Native people affiliate canoes with living beings. Traditionally, many people contribute to making a canoe. It takes more than just one person. It also takes a great deal of care and time in order to make the canoe properly. Canoes are used for many different purposes, and take a skilled leader to successfully navigate the waters. A crowd of settlers gather around a train car. A black man attends to them. He carries their heavy suitcases into the car. He smiles at all of them and helps the women up the stairs. You watch the man. Some of the passengers look at him, some do not. Some of them give him a tip and call him George. Most do not. He never stops smiling at them. He does not get on the passenger car. You wait until one of the passengers are on the car to ask George about his work. He nods hello and smiles at you, the same smile he gave the white people, and tells you his name isn't really George. He explains that he's a porter, and all porters are called the same name. He takes care of the passengers, serving all of their needs, and keeping their cars clean. He gets to sleep about 3 hours in a car separate from the white passengers. He has to pay for his own uniform, and he has to pay for his own meals. But at least he gets to send money home to his family, and he gets to travel and see the beauty of the land. Pullman porters are named for George Pullman, an engineer and industrialist who designs Pullman sleeping cars, one of the first of their kind. Pullman hires former slaves as his first porters because he knows they're used to serving, and he can pay them cheaply. Porters come to be called George after George Pullman. Pullman porters are an important part of African American society. Through their extensive travels, they're able to share their experiences and knowledge with their communities. Perfect segue into the game that we're going to be playing after this. It's going to be a real long stream today, chat. We're going to do an intermission here when we're done with the When Rivers Were Trails. But we'll be moving on to Dot's Home, another indie game, which is about a young black girl. Another family rushes up to the passenger car. A man is working away and is rather distracted when you surprise him with your arrival. Greetings! Welcome, stranger. We are the Sasti people of this place. That mountain, the great Mount Shasta, we call Wayeka. Our people have villages all the way into Oregon and down to here, and now we are a number of small communities. We used to have a reservation, but it closed. We now work to feed ourselves as farm workers for the Americans within our own lands. Mount Shasta is a boomtown area where gold was mined extensively from many river basins. Some of the Shasta people were up in Oregon at their northern tribe and moved to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation, while others remain in the area and blended into the local community. They are the people of Mount Shasta. They tell the story from a long time ago of the two mountains who had a fight, Mazama and Shasta won, blowing the top off Mazama, which then became Crater Lake. They tell the story like they saw it happen. The original name for themselves was Sasti or Susti, but the Americans now call them Shasta. What are you doing here? I'm making pine nuts for a necklace. You have to sand down the ends and poke out the insides, the meat of the pine nut. It takes a while, but the pine nuts taste good and look good as necklaces. Where do they come from? They grow on the digger pine trees. Those whose dusky blue tree... See those dusky blue trees over there? They grow on those trees, and they don't have many in Oregon. They grow along the Sierras and up by Mount Shasta. Be careful, because they have huge spines, and if one hits you in the head, it could easily kill you. We don't sleep under those digger pine trees. You nod and continue on your journey. You hear a request to trade coming from behind you, and you turn around to see a trader with a great deal of oddities. Most of it does not interest you. Yeah, we've got 2 medicine and 2 food. We're gonna decline. You approach the water's edge. The water is rushing quickly. Canoe minigame! Beaver, damn. My oar barely hit a log. By 1890, the United States government had discontinued many smaller reservations in Northern California, leaving many tribes landless. Earlier attempts by non-native settlers, along with disease brought in by the gold rush, had left many tribal populations in the area decimated. Many groups have established or joined existing rancheros, working as cheap migrant agricultural labor. Returning home during the off-season, many struggle to maintain cultural traditions. Snow begins to fall gently over the peaks of the mountains. We continue. We take 2 of our well-being, but I'd rather take the well-being than take the hit on the medicine right now. You hear a gathering of native people arguing. So I've avoided this the last 2 times, because the first time we approached the native people arguing, they were not happy with us. Avoid or approach, chat? I'll let you vote on this one, rather than just going with avoid. Ouch. They're not happy a stranger stepped in and argue with you as well. Okay, I think going forward, we're just gonna go ahead and avoid. Because that's exactly what happened the last time we approached as well, so I think that's the general consensus of what happens. You're walking near a humble home when a man welcomes you. Welcome! You must be the traveler from the east everyone's been talking about at the factory. I heard about you from my brother. We don't really have anything to trade, so we're going to ask for directions. I have indeed traveled a great distance, but have a ways more to go. Can you guide me towards Sacramento? If you continue south, past the factory over there, you can follow the rivers to your destination. However, Arconos, clover harvest dances are soon. You look tired, and perhaps you might want to join us? There are many games and dancing, and might be a great diversion for you before you continue your journey. There were at least 9 groups of Wintu, referred to by the area where they lived, such as in the West Ground, for those in the Upper Sacramento Valley, or North people in the Upper McCloud River Valley. Each village had 4 to 30 houses where 20 to 150 people lived. There were a number of villages in each territory. As the gold rush brought in settlers, the Wintu, already weakened by disease, were unable to maintain their way of life. Continuous warfare by Fremont and Carson decimated the Wintu. The most despicable moment came in 1850, when white settlers, under the deception of a friendship feast, poisoned and killed nearly 150 of the Wintu. Further massacres throughout the 1850s and 60s resettled the community, with many being forced again to work in the local factories and mines in order to sustain their families. He doesn't seem to take no for an answer, and before you know it, you're swept into the fun of the night. You wake the next morning feeling well rested for your ongoing journey. There is a small but apparently deep stream before you. You see a fallen log lying across the water that seems to be a good place to cross. You check out the log before you cross, and notice that it's hollow. Inside, you can see what appears to be a sleeping snake. Leave or cross, chat. Leave or cross. You know me, I don't like spiders and snakes, so I'm inclined to say we leave. Cross. You get about halfway across the log when you suddenly hear a rattling sound. A rattlesnake, which was sleeping in the hollow of the log, lashes out at you. The snake misses you, but it startles you enough that you fall into the river. A sudden sharp wind comes down from the mountains and bites at your ears. We take cover. You are feeling unsure of your travels when a native couple crosses your path. We upward nod. Yay! They gave us some food. The couple recognizes that you are in need and offer you dried corn. Corn boosts immunity. It's good for the heart and full of vitamins and minerals as well as fiber and protein. It helps lower cholesterol, fight cancer, and prevent cardiac disease. Corn silk tea helps reduce inflammation, while corn pollen is valued in ceremony. Maidu boy. Hello! How are you? I'm out picking berries today for my mother. She is sick and I'm helping out. You look very strange. You are not from the mountains, are you? No, I'm not from the mountains. I'm from a land very far from here. What is it that you're doing? Prior to colonization, the Maidu enjoyed the benefits of one of the most refined subsistence patterns ever to have existed on this planet. The Maidu are known, particularly, for their understanding of forest management practices, sustainable forestry before it was called that, including the use of planned burning to manage acorn-producing oak groves and healthy meadowlands. Although they did not have as much contact with the first waves of Spanish in California, the gold rush ravaged the Maidu as it did to all other California tribes. Oak groves tended for centuries were wiped out. As subsistent foodstuffs and foraging areas were destroyed, the people began to move toward the cities to find work and resources. I'm picking manzanatas, a medicinal plant, for my mother. Maybe I can give you some of them and you can give me some of your food? No, my boy. No, I cannot. You turn down the boy's offer and he simply shrugs. I feel bad, but we have one food. And now we will have more. The heat of the sun is weighing heavily on you, and you can feel yourself growing tired. Abruptly, a man approaches you. Greetings! Where did you come from? What are you doing? The gold rush brought settlers and warfare to Washoe land. The last armed conflict, the Potato War, was in 1857 when a group of starving Washes were massacred while gathering potatoes from an American farm. By 1890, most of the Washoe people worked jobs on white ranches and farms, and many have left for the cities of Northern California. The lands where they settled became known as Indian colonies. I'm from over the mountains to the east, a long way from my homelands. I'm looking for a road that can lead me south. Do you know the nearest road that can take me the rest of my journey? Just past the ridge, there's a small trail that'll take you to a logging road just over the other side. Take some of these pine nuts before you go. I have too many for my family anyhow. I'm happy to have met you. You thank him, and then continue on. Alright, next thing is going to be trying to get more medicine. Speaking of which, I guess we'll trade a food for some medicine. That puts us at 4 food and 3 medicine. While walking along... I just seem to have the worst luck of stepping on wasps. This is ridiculous. It stung you. Ouch! You are slowed down as you continue on. You're traveling south, not entirely sure where you are. A Mechupta mother who is tending to her child notices you. She greets you, sounding concerned. Greetings. You seem lost. Are you searching for something? Until settlers arrived, the Mechupta lived in small cluster villages, hunting, fishing, trading, and gathering. Their baskets were prized by natives and non-natives alike. In the mid-1800s, a white rancher, John Bidwell, arrived and married into the Mechupta. During the California Indian massacres, a period between 1849 to 1870, where thousands of native people were killed intentionally and through diseases by settlers, the Mechupta were not forced into removal due to their association with John Bidwell. Although Bidwell provided protection and sanctuary, some viewed the rancheria as a plantation, rather than a village or home, where the Mechupta were tasked with work. Greetings. Yes, I'm seeking the end of my journey and a place to live and thrive. Can you tell me what land this is? This is Bahapki, our last village. It is a place of respite and work. It is not as beautiful as the village I grew up in, but it is safe for her and me. You are welcome to rest here and share your stories. You reminisce about what your home was like before allotment. Land glistens with water from the lakes. The trees offer shade and sap to make sugar. It is a beautiful territory. She thanks you for sharing, and you continue on your way. You encounter wild onion growing. Wild onion is excellent medicine for bug stings, but this field is host to many ants. There's a chance that you'll need to use what you collect as soon as you collect it. How do you proceed? I'm thinking take few. What do you think, chat? Cautiously and with care, you gently pull at only a few clusters of wild onion, pausing between every motion to be sure not to disturb the ants. With relief, you come away with a little medicine. Both the ants and you carry on without conflict. A stranger near the water easily catches up to you, asking for medicine. We have enough. I'll say with just getting those extra two, we have enough. Now we need food. After walking a long ways under the hot sun, you spot a school building. You walk towards it and notice a Paiute student reading. Greetings to you. You're welcome to rest, though I fear I am poor company. My day at school was long, and I need to memorize these passages before tomorrow's lesson. I appreciate you letting me stop for a moment. How far is your school? Just over the rise. Sister Agnes is our teacher. I am learning to sew and to write, but reading is still my favorite. If you feel like reading out loud, I'd be a willing listener. That would be very good, very kind. I can always use the extra practice. Numu, as they call themselves, had lived in the area north of Reno, Nevada, as far back as could be remembered. They lived in multiple bands and moved back and forth between them. Before the settlers had arrived, they subsisted on fishing, gathering, and agriculture. They adopted horses from the Plains tribes, but had very little interaction with Americans until the 1830s and 40s, when the gold rush began to move settlers west in droves. For 2 decades, starting in the 1860s, warfare against the northern Paiute decimated their communities alongside endemic disease. You stay and listen to her read for a while before you move on your way. You're getting ready to rest for the night as the stars shine brightly above. You fall asleep under the watch of Moose, who provides food, clothing, and shelter by offering itself to the people. Moose, provides food, clothing, and shelter for the people. When a moose is killed for food, the beard on males is hung high on a tree. It would be disrespectful for the moose beard to be on the ground, since we recognize that the beard is among the stars. Instead, the beard is placed high on a tree branch to reflect moose in the sky, the Pegasus constellation. This was a way to honor and thank the moose for giving its life. You feel restored when you wake up and continue your journey. An Indian agent approaches you and immediately accuses you of carrying alcohol. He states that your treaty rights can be revoked if you drink. Cooperate or resist. As far as I know, we're not carrying any alcohol, so I'd be comfortable with resisting, but... I think I'm gonna resist. You are insulted and fight it out with the Indian agent. Oh, you were too slow, softcore. Had you said cooperate, I would have cooperated, but... You take some hits, but so does he, and you wind him enough to get away. Wind him enough to get away. And we took one ding to our well-being, but we're still doing pretty good. The lakes all around you remind you of home. How are we on medicine? We're decent on medicine, we're rough on food. We shall rest. You soak medicines and water from the lakes to make a refreshing drink. You see an immense wall of stinging nettles growing alongside the water. We are gonna gather, which gives us some, medicine. You mindfully gather nettles using a wrapping around your hands to avoid getting stung. Raw nettles are generally lashed against the skin over the joints to reduce inflammation, easing the effects of arthritis. Nettle leaf tea helps promote lactation and can reduce the symptoms of allergies. Nettles are also used to detoxify the blood. They're high in vitamins, calcium, potassium, and iron. And we continue on our way. We see a long path before us. We start walking toward another place. Missionary attempts by the Spanish to convert natives and establish land claims in California have left many tribes deeply impacted. Secularization of missions only further divide tribes, with many turning to migrant labor to survive. Since California was acquired by the United States, many tribes have mixed with non-native populations in the area, while others work on local ranches. Some have established intertribal rancheras. You may hunt here. I am low on food, so hunt I shall. Damn squirrels. If only I could have gotten one of the squirrels, too. That would have given us an extra food. You see a young boy along the water. He seems tired and has a cough and runny nose. We did just harvest those nettles, so we'll gift him medicine. The Yuhaviatam have traveled north to warn nations that it is unsafe to travel to their territory to the south. Settlers have been told they can turn in scalps from native people for money. It is unsafe to travel much further, and you must find a new home soon. You find your way to a community that has managed to rebuild even after the fallout of allotment. However, only a young girl is in sight. She seems very friendly, even though you are a stranger. Hello to all people. You look as if you have traveled a long way. Where have you come from? I have come from the Great Lakes in the east, across the plains and mountains. That sounds like a very long journey. This territory belongs to Nahime, the people of this valley. The Mono refer to themselves as Nahime in the Mono language. In the late 1800s, the people have continued to be relocated and pushed further back into the surrounding foothills. They continue to migrate to their original homelands in the valley floor and work to pick grapes, herd sheep, and log for timber. Under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, some begin to receive land allotments from the nearby designated National Forest lands, which have been logged for several decades. The log flumes dot the surrounding tributaries as the logging companies move the timber down from the mountains and foothills. We shall ask about the community. The Maidu who live nearby call us fly people because we mostly eat fly larvae. It's what's helped us thrive in these hard times. Settlers don't want anything to do with our food. You're unsure of this community feeling like home, so you nod and continue on your way. You make your way up the winding, dusty road to Fowler. As you approach, a sister and brother argue quietly. She traces her fingers over numbers in a ledger. He shakes his head. They are not angry. They share a sadness. In 1890, African Americans were moving to Central Valley in California, including Fowler. They were financing and governing their own communities. Daddy's been waiting all this time, Wes. He was so happy when he realized it was me who wrote him that letter. I know it's been years, but we finally see him in a few months. None of us know if we got a few months. You seem troubled. My family got sold off, separated from Mama and Daddy before the war. My sisters raised money to bring us all out here to Fowler. Daddy's the only one not with us now. Took Charlotte a while to find him. He's alone in Mississippi. I run Fowler's general store. Business has been a little slow, you see. Been over 30 years since we last saw Daddy, and we ain't got money for his travel. Oh, it tugs at my heartstrings. May your father be returned to you soon. Thank you. Good day. You're getting ready to rest for the night as the stars shine brightly above. You nod off while gazing at Ajijak, Crane, who leads the people to stay strong. Ajijak, Crane, the Cygnus constellation, is known also as Benishi Okanen, skeleton bird. Ajijak is honored for leading our people to Bawatine, the place of the rapids, and informing them of how to establish their village. Stories about Benishi Okani are told when snow is on the ground. You feel restored when you wake up and continue your journey. A few native men are gathered by the water. You curiously approach to get a better idea of what they are gathered for. They're preparing to fight for rights to fish on their traditional territories. Considering how much well-being we have, we help them. You help in the resistance by defending the men from settlers, which gives them the time they need to fish for their community. The men thank you for your help in providing for their families. Oh snap, chat. We got all 4 directions to choose from. North, east, south, or west. I will say it feels like east would be going backwards. Alright, we're going west towards San Francisco. You see small fish swimming in the water nearby. We're gonna fish, because we need food. It does say small fish, though, so we might not wait for a big boy this time around. I'll take it. It said small fish, so I wasn't about to risk not getting anything. Chinatown in the heart of San Francisco is so bustling that you feel overwhelmed. A young Chinese man looks out over a sea of activity. He catches your eye and waves you over, hoping to trade goods with a traveler who is obviously new to the city. Have you arrived where you wanted to be? My uncle came here by boat, but there was a sickness on board and they were quarantined for a month. Ended up in Hawaii. He thinks he'll stay, but I like it here. Many opportunities. You can trade 1 medicine for food. We actually have more medicine than we do food, or we have more food than we do medicine, so we're not going to do that. But we will ask about work. Are you looking? Be careful of the tongs. The tongs run much of the business here, but it is unwise to work for them. In 1890, Chinese farmers have mostly recovered from the violent xenophobia of the 1870s and are doing fairly well. That is, until the land they're working is stolen from them and given to settlers. They have no choice but to relocate to Chinatown in San Francisco, which, after forming their own unions, petitioning the courts, and fighting for rights and recognition becomes a safe place for many. Tongs begin as an organized community response toward Chinese immigrants, but over time become associated with criminal activity. We'll ask about the railroad camp. You describe the Chinese railroad camp you came across in Montana. Difficult work. Both the tracks and the towns. Not many survived. This place is far too busy for you to feel at home. The Oneida family from New York you met in Fond du Lac Reservation has made it out west to San Francisco far before you. They recognize you, invite you over. We'll ask them about the family. We're doing very well. We rode trains most of the way and have been working here ever since. Our children go to school now thanks to the church. We're grateful for the school here, so we don't have to give our children up to boarding school. The church was right about jobs. We work for farmers now. You would be welcome to stay with us if you want to try your hand at farming. We'll accept the offer. You accept the generous offer of the Oneida family and join them in working for California farmers. The work is hard, but you're grateful to live with them and become kin over the years. You continue to speak in your language and secretly maintain your traditional ways away from the gaze of the farmers. We are remembered honorably. And that was When Rivers Were Trails, made possible by the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, created in collaboration with the Indian Land Tenure Foundation and Games for Entertainment and Learning Lab at Michigan State University. We'll let these credits roll. I am going to step away. I'm not going to put us on Be Right Back. I'm just going to go fill my water, but I'm going to step away while these credits roll. That was a pretty awesome indie game. It took us about 3.5 hours, about 3 hours and 20 given the Be Right Back that I did earlier, to get through, but I really enjoyed that. I think that was a great game. Not normally one for point and click adventures, but I'm down with it. I like that a lot. I will see you all in just a couple minutes when I get back from filling up my water bottle.